Hey everyone, welcome to the Growing with Fishes podcast. We do this show every week in order to help promote cannabis and aquaponic production, as well as sustainable sustainable cannabis production. Thanks for joining us. This week we have Matt from Mountainside Glass. We have Roger. We got Marty. We got Fish Ganja Guy, and we got Brain Grow. So. I have a quick announcement real quick. I have the Aquaponic Cannabis class this weekend, Saturday and Sunday in Half Moon Bay. If you guys are looking for an in-person class and you happen to be within driving distance of the Bay Area, and I'll have the rest of the dates next week. Definitely come check it out. It's over at Ouroboros Farms, and that'll be Saturday and Sunday. Class starts at 9 a.m. So, alrighty. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Did you say that was this weekend or next weekend?
This weekend.
Okay.
Yep. So we have Matt from Mountainside Glass. He's done, for those of you guys that were out at the DGC Cup, he's done the trophies for them for the last couple of years. He's a real big glass blower in Colorado, and he was kind enough to join us. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Do you want to tell people a little bit about Mountainside Glass and what you do?
Just a real small outfit up in the foothills of Fort Collins, Colorado, west of town a little ways. Just basically make daily driver glass for your typical smoker. A real not high-end product as far as price and all that stuff, but we make the product for the end user. It's real small outfit, me and a couple guys that do sales for me and stuff like that, but everything we fabricate is in-house from beginning to end. So yeah.
Awesome.
So what kind of stuff do you guys make specifically in terms of what type of pieces do you make?
So I kind of make everything in a nut, take that with a grain of salt, but my main things are I have a production line of inside out spoons that, kind of just like your run of the mill, just thick inside out stuff that kind of starts with this, goes down to like a one hitter all the way up through bubblers and Sherlocks and dry hammers and all that. And that's one line that I do of production work, and then I do another line of clear stuff that gets branded with like the Mountainside logos and stuff, and we sandblast all that. And so I have a line of hand pipes basically, and a line of water pipes and clear, kind of more scientific glass. But we kind of hit both ends, but we try to stay in the realm of what people will actually use. I think high, like crazy artsy stuff like that is great too. It's just not for me to make. I'm more about the people that use the products every day rather than someone that pulls out a cool pipe once a month or something like that. I make them for people that are going to be using them in grows or on construction sites or camping or whatever. I try to make it more about the user than about the shelf look to it for a store. I mean, stores are where my stuff sells, but you get what I'm saying. Sorry,
So you basically you go into the side of functionality more than you are making them pretty.
Yeah,
Clear glass stuff
exactly.
to me is most pretty. But that clear stuff is beautiful. What you showed us before the show,
And a lot of people say that. I just, when people hear what I do for a living and they immediately jump on this, like, you're an artist thing, you probably make crazy, cool, colorful, elaborate things. And I'm more, it's my job. I'm more of a craftsman. Than I am an artist. You know what I mean? Like, we use this saying artist owned and operated, but, it's more, I'm never just out here expressing my depressed feelings about whatever, you know what I mean? Or happy feelings for that matter. I'm working, but I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I just wanted to check too. You said that you do daily driver style of equipment. Is that referring to that they fit like snugly in the cup holder in the front of your car, or?
Good.
Some of the models do fit or could fit in a cup holder. We try to say it's more for like, I have a side-by-side. I hang out a lot of times up on dirt trails and stuff like that. So it's more about that than the daily drive.
Okay. And then I was going to say, when you're talking
like their hammer or their car or whatever, it's another tool that you use on a daily basis,
And I was going to say, when it came to the artist own and operate, I remember, I think it was Scotty who said a while ago that, referring to you, it's an artist is somebody who you'll find just going for purely aesthetics, nothing more. But an artisan is somebody who's making something that looks good and is functional. And that's what he was thinking of with you, is that you're just a great artisan in the industry.
Okay, I could buy that. I could get behind that. I try not to. There's a lot of amazing glass blowers that are way more famous than I am, and have way bigger picture following, Instagram followings and that kind of stuff. And there's nothing against that. Those are the people that I follow too. But it just has never been who I was. A lot of dudes that I have come up with are those people, and I still hang out with them to this day. But it's just, I've always just been a worker guy rather than an art guy, So I could see that the artisan thing. I kind of use the word craftsman in the same sense that he uses the word artisan, I suppose.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
So before we go farther, since you brought it up, just because I'm always curious about this, and it very seldom gets mentioned unless one of us asks about it. Since you said you're high-end stuff, but not necessarily high-end price, can you tell the entry-level price to your highest rig price?
So as far as the inside out line goes, so we'll start with the hand pipes, and this is not including, like, for those of you that were there, like the DGC hitters. I'm not talking about those. Those are a whole different line of things that we typically just do for dispensaries. Where it said DGC 2017 would have Natural Remedies or the Herbal Cure or whoever's dispensary on one side and then Mountainside on the other. So that's completely different. Some hitters, basically, our manufacturer suggested retail price on those is $24. That's retail. In price, depending on your tax or whatever. But and then the bubblers of that exact make go for like $70, and they're real sturdy, real heavy duty. That's kind of the window there, is basically from $25 to $75 for that inside out thing. So very user friendly price range. The bongs, we do jump up a bit. Like my traveler rig, so the cup holder backpacking little rig, those start at $120 retail, and then that line goes up to around $300. 300 is and then from there you can go up. If the people that come to my studio or whatever, they might pick out expensive tubing to go on it, and a $300 tube can very quickly become a $600 tube, depending on what attributes you want your tube to have.
So $700 to $600 or so?
Yeah. Well, no. So it'd be 25 to 75, and then like basically 100 to 300 is the regular prices. So that's what I mean. I try not to make anything that there's and again, grain of salt here, but I try to make it in a friendly price range so nobody can't afford it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm the first to say that, and this is before, now it's just a China company as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, but like rollers, old rollers, you know what I mean? Like that was made out of good material, but you're buying the name. You're not buying, and I think that goes, you know, once you hit a certain point, people are just buying it for your name. You could put whatever on there. We try to, you know, I want to continue to make quality, good stuff and not have it be just about the name. You know, I want people to buy stuff because they saw their buddies get knocked over and not break, not because they saw it on the shelf and thought it was cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thing.
Thank you.
A lot of the glass pieces go right along with that trend as far as fashion. You know, in fashion, you're paying a lot for simply buying designer names. And I've gone to my local favorite shop and seen some of these pieces that are priced at $1,000 to $2,000 simply because of the name. I mean, they look really nice and whatnot, and it's really based on the art. But that's still pretty crazy price to be paying for something like that. But I mean, like I said, it's all about the designer. So
to be honest, man, like me, you know, like if I'm spending 2 G's on something, it's going to be not something that one of my buddies is going to break, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, is that when you're getting up into those crazy pieces, and again, I'm not faulting anyone for anything. It's just the more expensive of a pipe that you buy, the less sturdy, the less user friendly, the less, and I'm not, you know, again, there are outliers to everything I'm saying here. I'm not an expert. I should buy your, you know what I mean?
If I want it to be stable.
What's that?
So I should buy your cheapest glass if I want it to be the most sturdy. All right, cool.
You're just throwing semantics at me, but and hey, my $35 spoons that I just showed you, those could be put up
solid, man, for sure.
Probably against some of the more expensive spoons you wanted to, and I don't advise it, but you could chuck it across the room, and you know, I'd say my $35 one's got as good of a chance as any, you know.
Yeah, some of your
I
stuff
completely agree.
The wall.
Do you want to tell people about the different types of pipes and pieces there are out there? I know a lot of people out there, especially we were talking about before the show. Roger had a question. He had never seen a dab rig, you know, the proper setup and stuff like that. Do you want to maybe touch on the different types of pipes out there and kind of what they're good for?
Yeah, I mean, what I smoke every day is I smoke herb, but I smoke it out of kind of a rig style pipe. I use a flower bowl on it, but I prefer. Let's see if I can switch my camera around here. I prefer something small and controllable, you know, that I can let's see here. Something small and controllable. Sorry, Blair Witch Project here for a second. You know, I don't necessarily love to just take giant bong rips either. I'm more about having a piece that one person can rip and the next person can hit it as light as they want. So, you know, something like this, you could still take a big nasty bong rip out of something this small and cough until you couldn't see, or you can take a tiny little bong rip out of this and it's smooth and you don't. So that's kind of more what I smoke personally. So what you're looking at here is more of like a dab rig style pipe. You know, these perks came into fruition really once we started getting into that kind of dab rig thing. But you know, guys like me who really prefer flower, I dab all the time. I just prefer flower. But guys like me that prefer flower can still use these. They don't have to just be dab rigs. I've got setups and can make setups to turn them back and forth. Even like these with the male joints, I can make bowls that have a female fitting that are opposite of that. So that's kind of just a basic. So this would be my low end traveler. of that. Then it would go up to this, which would be kind of more in that bubbler that you were asking about, John. And then from there, it goes up into tubes. And very basic glass bong, let's see, something like this, all the way up to like this is a smaller bong, but it's got a perk built in the side of it. It's double percolated.
And how much would
So
something like
there's
that run?
that one is 300. So that's where we were talking. That's going to be at the top before you get into anything crazy. This one is actually on hold for a kid, an Alaskan kid that wants me to put some moose horns on it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm totally window shopping right now, but I'm also keeping my budget in mind because I'm broke.
No kidding.
These moose horns are going on the back of that bong.
Nice.
Do you want to show people how the like how a dab rig works with the nail and or maybe like a
Yeah, that's what I'm looking
different kind of stuff?
Yeah. So okay. Yeah.
Maybe the different kind of nails there are and stuff like that. So I know a lot of people out there, especially in the non-medical states, have never seen anything like this.
Right. So
another thing, Matt, I'm also, when you're showing us glass through glass and other glass with a white background, it looks like like I'm walking into the light almost. So just to let you know.
Here, we'll see if I can't.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. I'm not cutting you. Oh, there you go. That's nice.
Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we put this on here, and this is quartz. This isn't glass. And we heat up the bottom of here, and then wipe the dab in here once it cools down. I don't do like the whole 45-second timer thing. I basically put my hand over it and feel it, or put it next to my face, just because I can't. I sort of have a handicap of feeling heat with my hands. I don't really feel it as well anymore until it's hot. And this is where I was talking about that I can switch this and make a bowl this is not the right size, but this is the right example for flour. So
yeah, okay, cool.
It's an opposite joint, but it's still a bowl for flour.
Now, could you use that?
So how
in
long does it take you to make a piece like that?
I don't know how long it takes me to make one again, but you can see like this is 2 cans. Can you guys see that? This is two of the Traveler cans before I put the arms on there. So this will then receive one of these guys, and then I'll weld that on the side, and then I'll bend that, which will give me a mouthpiece. So this would basically be welded on there like that, and then I would bend this out to be that mouthpiece, and then this piece here gets cut and welded to the back of the tube to make another sturdy. It's just like metal or gluing wood.
Yeah, to make it.
Yeah, wherever you weld it, it's going to be stronger than like raw tubing.
Cool. That's a good idea. You don't see that a lot, but yeah, it's just to build up rigidity. That's all. Yeah.
These are tools that I buy. They're carbon. Everything that is in my studio that let me turn on some more lights. Everything is carbon, so it can get hot, and like these are all carbon pads, because if I put the glass that was 1,000 to 3,000 degrees on this, it would just roast right through it. You can see burn marks all over. So all of this stuff that you see is all carbon to form, different paddles. These are called reamers. all different sizes. This one,
yeah.
you know, pencil. So this one's like my finger. You know, that's where I can get into whatever. This one would be to really ream out a big opening.
Yeah.
And then these are glass blowing shears. These are 8-inch cup shears. These are handmade by a guy, I believe, up in Washington. His name's Jim Moore. I actually have these diamond shears tattooed on my arm. I got those for my 10-year anniversary of blowing glass.
That is dope.
So those are all like cutting and forming and mashing, you know, so like flatten a mouthpiece. I don't know if you guys are being able, if this is translating at all, but
Yes. Well, I got it. Well,
okay.
I've seen glass blowing, and like I said, I got a friend, so I think it's cool he's showing us all those tools, because that's the question people have a lot when they watch this. Just like I know that, like the pad is how you make it flat, so the little handheld can sit flat and stand up on the table, not roll off. You know, like
this is what I flatten all my bases
right.
with. So what stands on the thing. So when it's spinning on the lathe, I can flatten whatever I need to.
That's neat, man. That's a beautiful shot.
And then these are just more hand tools that I've had over the last like 15 years. And I just like this. This is my original paddle that I got in not quite 15 years, 2003. So, and all this stuff is, you know, near and dear to me. So they all stay around, all burnt to hell and ruined and burnt me and room full of times, but all in love, you know.
Yeah, I knew that's why you said you can't feel. Yeah, I use my cheek because I can't feel my hands anymore. Yeah, we got you. It's hot. That's some hot work there.
We actually have a
then just
for Matt that just showed up. It says, "What do you look for when buying a kiln that you're going to use?" Or a used
okay,
kiln?
so a used kiln. All right. So I bought this kiln used. This one is a Paragon High Fire, and it works great. It's got an analog pyrometer though. So these blue boxes have computers in them. So they run their own. We call it a ramp. So when you're working all day long, these blue boxes sit at 1,050 degrees, and then I'm able to have the doors closed and be working here and go back and forth to the kiln as long as I keep it hot. You know what I mean? So what I would do if I was going to buy one, and it was going to be my only kiln, I would buy a digital. I prefer Paragon. It's what I've always had. There's one in between this that came after this guy did. This is a Paragon F120, and it's ran on 120 power. This is, I've had this for as long as I've blown. In like the first couple weeks, because of the way I had it sitting on a couple of stacks of cinder blocks, and the minor movement of cinder block like cracked it. Anyway, I recommend this, the Paragons. You can get this exact machine in either this F120. You can get an F130 that's going to be a little bit taller, but still just the same width. So it's better for making like cups and rigs and stuff, because you've only got like 7x7x5 in this, or 7 maybe. Or there's another one that's this exact same rig. It's just wider and shorter, and it's called the Bluebird. And I recommend that because that's a good machine too that you could use forever as like a handle warmer. A lot of guys will just use these little boxes just to keep what they're working on warm, not actually, once they get it made, this will be sitting right next to their bench. Once it's made, it goes into this box. And then that way stuff's out of your way. This one I use when I'm going on a big bong tear and I'm making, a bunch of, if I'm making, a bunch of bongs like that, there's probably 25 of them or more than that, 35 of them on this shelf. But if I'm trying to do a day where I'm making half of those in a day, what I do is they sit in here after they're done. Then they just sit in here at like 800 degrees. When I'm fully finished with them and they're ready to be annealed, then they go in these other boxes and they'll sit overnight at 1,050. What is called annealing, which basically realigns all the particles. When you're working a glass, you're sending, and I'm not a scientist at all. I'm a stoner that makes pipes, but when you're working the stuff, basically you're throwing the molecules and all of this stuff out of alignment. It's just going crazy. Yeah. And so you put it back in the kiln and it kind of brings everything back down to a level that everything is just happy with each other. Nothing's trying to peel itself away. That's when stuff is really its strongest, is when it's annealed.
So the idea is you want to keep it hot from the start, from the very beginning of producing a piece to the very end of it. And meanwhile, when it's resting between phases, it has to be still hot and not get hot and cold, so it becomes brittle or separates. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Yep. That's when you'll shock stuff. Is what it's called. And I can walk you guys around too a little bit more. These are wet saws over here. Yeah. This is what I use primarily to cut all of my perks. So any of the slits that are in any of my pieces, and this water gets changed out every time and all this, but so any of the slits get cut with that, and then I polish all the ends of it, and that gets then welded into the piece. So yeah, long rant. I like Paragon kilns.
We had another question from chat. Larry asks, how does one learn how to blow glass?
YouTube.
Really, I'm a fan of order a torch and line up a gas supplier, or if you've got a way to get oxygen, get oxygen going. And there's YouTube videos. I even have a couple of YouTube videos, like 10 tips and tricks to get started. But I'm a fan of, you don't need any of this bullshit to start. You can buy this torch right here. It's called a National. It's a 3A. You can buy one of those for $100. You can buy a stand that's another like $70. I never even bought the stand. I have a block of wood similar to this one that I've put a sheetrock screw in, and it basically sits whole, right? So the torch just hooks on it, and I put a bungee cord around it if I use it at the bench. So for $100, you can get this torch. You spend another $100 on your hose and your gas and your fittings, and then look on Craigslist and find there's guys like me all over the place that sell scrap or give away scrap, like a bunch of, all the shit you guys just saw on my bench. When I clean that up, as much of it is usable material, it ends up as scrap to somebody. So you can get a hold of that by like the pound, or you can even order that off of Amazon and whatnot.
And then you could try
And,
to experiment without really costing you a bunch of money. And
yeah, because it's
yeah.
the whole thing at the beginning is a waste. Besides the fun and the enjoyment you're getting out of it, surely a waste. You're
Not as easy
burning
to
up
look.
material. So I say start with buying the tool that you need most to do this, and that's the way to melt glass. From there, that carbon that I just showed you, that could be a piece of leftover tile from your house. As long as it's not going to catch on fire from you rolling some hot glass on it, right there, you know, nippers like dikes, like wire cutters, they work great to put little pinches or specks, make like a leaf. You know, you make something that's in like the shape of a arrowhead, and then take needle nose pliers and crimp them up, and then, you know, melt. It's got the little perforated edges so that it can grab onto whatever you're trying to plier or whatever. Those out or leave them because they look cool, but you don't need fancy tools. You know, you've got tweezers at your house. I got fucking 14-inch tweezers, but you don't need them. You know, there's stuff all over your place that you could blow glass with. So, I mean, really what I think how you could start is find a safe place, which you can be real creative on what a safe place is, and line up an oxygen. You know, there's whether it's Home Depot has like blue oxygen or whatever. My favorite store, Jack's Farm and Ranch in Fort Collins. It's a feed store. It's like a redneck welder, whatever. They sell oxygen there. So, I mean, once you get the basis, which is the torch and the gas and Teflon tape it safely, you're off and running. I mean, I've seen some of the coolest tools I've ever seen have been tools that people have made themselves. So I think that's second. Get what you need to start. And the kiln, like I said, when you can buy a Paragon, I'm not sponsored. That's who I like. It's who I've used my entire career. But you can order products like Kiln Blanket, Vermiculite. Those both have like insulating factors where you can take like an old ammo box or something metal that's not going to catch on fire again, and fill it with vermiculite, make a pendant and stuff it down in there. And it's not going to be annealed, but the vermiculite at least makes it cool slow enough to where it doesn't go back to what Roger says. It's all about it's sort of like pop. It can go through temperature swings and stuff, but it can't be drastic. It's the drastic shit that really messes with it. And so if you've got it in vermiculite or a kiln blanket, you can buy yourself months of not. And then one great thing you could do is if you have a job or a grow or some other source of income, is save all that stuff, keep it, and once you are able to afford a torch, you can do one mass firing of the last 6 months little trinkets that you've made, drink stirrers and icicles for your mom's refrigerator or a menorah for your aunt or whatever, you know. You can anneal all that at once. So it's really just about getting it and getting off the ground, you know what I mean? People are afraid because it's an expensive hobby, which it is, but it's all relative. It's all, if you want to, you know, I've had an apprentice that within 3 weeks wanted to buy a $500 torch. Within 6 months of that, like, I saved up money, I'm going to buy a $1,700 torch. And that's great too. And those are great advantages and all that stuff. But if this is just something you really want to get into, you don't have to, you know, it's the same thing as welding. You don't need to buy all the craziest stuff to get into it. You can just slowly get into it, and because you might not even like it either. It's something, you fall off your bike the first time, you may not get back on it. You roast your hand with a glass torch, you might not turn it back on for a while.
Wouldn't you say that you probably, so you want to start with getting your a torch, your oxygen and all that, and your torch is set up, then your pad, some kind of pad, and then a kiln maybe would be real if you decided to go on beyond burning yourself. The kiln would be the next thing you would need.
Kiln would be the next real thing, and then I would start piecing together all your hand tools, and like I said, I would start with your tweezers and your random needle nose pliers and whatnot. There are a few tools that are very specific that you're going to need at the beginning. Like these are claw grabbers. So obviously you can tell exactly what they do. You heat these up so they don't shock the glass, but you can grab not molten to where they would, leave claw marks, we call them, but so you don't want it squishing down and putting indents in it, but you want it to hold the pipe or whatever you've just made. And this is kind of a tool that you need from the beginning, but basically there are a few little hand tools that you'll need to buy. I mean, these are Husky from Home Depot tile nippers. I still use them to this day. Are basically the same thing, but they cost me like $40 more than the Home Depot ones because they said they were for glass blowing. But I've sent apprentices to go buy this exact thing for $9.97 at Lowe's, and they're no different. It's the exact same thing. So if you don't have a glass supplier near you, I mean, between Amazon and Home Depot, just like before all of this craziness, Home Depot was the best grow store there ever was. It's the best glass blowing tool supply house there ever was, because it's all what you're willing to do and put together and plumb up, or if you're willing to use Homer buckets to get your shit done, do it. Same thing.
Ingenuity.
I'm like an entrepreneurial, like foothills kind of redneck dude that I'm more about trying to figure it out myself than I am. I like all these tools that I use now. These hand tools that I use now are freaking fantastic, but they're fucking $100 a piece, and I don't break them anymore. I don't break them by dropping them anymore. But here's two of them, the exact same tools, sitting here broken because after 300 bongs or 300 rigs, those are used for, the carbon begins to get brittle because it's getting hit with a flame all the time. So it becomes porous, which then becomes more brittle. So I break them still. They are a throwaway tool after so long, but it's not. You really have to spend a lot. It takes a long time to, like, as dumb as this sounds, learn how to not set your carbon tools right on the edge of your knock. Really only have, I joke about tossing my tools, but the carbon only really has so much life in it as far as bouncing around and hitting the ground or concrete or whatever else.
Can you talk a little bit about thermals and how the what's different about the glass that allows them to stay hot for so long? Is there more metal content or?
So the thing with those is that's all quartz. So, and this is something that I'm definitely not. It's definitely not my forte. I've made quartz stuff. I started getting into making quartz stuff, and then the industry really took off, and it became its own animal within the lamp working community. Excuse me. But so what quartz is it runs at a much higher temperature as far as working it. One of the rules when you're lamp working borosilicate glass, which is what the scientific term for my glass is, which I should have said from the beginning. But
say it again.
Borosilicate. One of the chief rules when you first get going is to, like, never blow in the glass when it's in the flame, because no matter if you're spinning it or not, the torch is only hitting it from one angle. So wherever that torch is at on that sphere, when it's going to blow out there more than it's blowing out everywhere else. Maybe not to the naked eye, but wall thickness, you know, all that is different.
It'll weaken it.
With quartz, well, yeah, it would make like a thinner spot.
Right.
With quartz, it's basically the opposite. You have to have a flame on it in order to blow it. It's incredibly stiff. Borosilicate's annealing temperature is 1,050. I've heard numbers as crazy as like 7 and for quartz annealing temp. So you don't, like, if you go into a quartz shop, my old roommate, good buddy of mine, Joel Halen, does the Halen honey hole in the trough, and his new one is the honey bucket that takes a thermal. But if you go into his quartz shop, you won't even see a kiln. You got to go back over to his glass shop to see a kiln, because in the quartz, you can literally put it in water to cool it down, because you never even broke the annealing. You've never even broke that threshold of it.
Wow.
So it's just a much higher resistance to it. So that being said, it's if you were trying to heat up glass with a torch every time you wanted to take a dab, you'd be retracting it back. So when I put it in the box and I get it to that annealing temp, and then I take it out, 12 hours later or whatever, and I put it in my case, I take it to the store, you come in, you buy it. It's sitting on a level plane, all of those molecules. Everything is annealed, tits perfect. When you hit it with a flame for your dabs, I use my glass torch. I don't even use like a regular, but you hit it with your plumber's torch, your creme brulee torch, you're pulling it back into that weird, this could shock thing. It's no longer annealed at that point. And that's why, like, when you were getting glass dabbers, when this all first started, they broke after like 4 days and you had to go back and buy a quartz one. And that's why the quartz industry blew up, because the Boro couldn't handle it. Luckily for us, you made it the same way with the same tools. That oxygen and hydrogen, and so it burns at a much higher thing. You'd want to use, that's another thing for the guy that wants to start out, get didymium lenses. That's a big one. That blocks out any of that orange flash, so you're not going to get like a welder's burn in your retina.
Oh, good. Yeah, good thing to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Safety first. Legally blind from like extreme exposure to possibly to ultraviolet light and shit. So it's basically the same. I got macular degeneration in both eyes and a retinomyopathy in one eye. So thank you for bringing that up, because I'm always preaching about it. You wear your safety glasses.
It's big. I always say, people are always like, it was the one time I wasn't wearing my safety glasses that it got me. And it was like, no, it got you every time. You just had your safety glasses on and it was blocking you. You know what I mean? Like, it gets you every time. It just, you don't feel it when you wear your safety glasses. But I've heard horror stories of guys like waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to like open up their eyes. And it was because they were working on a piece and they might have been wearing their glasses, but sometimes you get into this thing where you're doing your thing and then you're looking over it, and then you're doing your thing and you're looking over it, and all that's getting flash real bad that you don't even realize, but you feel like, I'm looking through my glasses the whole time, but it's all getting its thing, and it can really do a lot of damage. It is ultraviolet basically at its. It's funny, sometimes you'll heat up, you'll have a long piece, something this long, and you'll heat up this end and it'll be hot, and this whole shaft of it will be cold. But if you get all the way down to here where the UV is shooting it to, will be hot to the touch, even though the whole rest of the piece that I'm spinning wasn't hot until it got back to the tip where you were hitting it with the torch. It really is a cool thing. You could really nerd out on the shit forever. I've had more fun making it than I have nerding out on it, but
Yeah, that's my explanation for my lack of some knowledge in growing pot, because I was more about teaching people how to do it really well my way, and not as much about what everything's going on everywhere else. Now I'm trying to catch up, and thank goodness for this show, because it's helped me out a lot, and I know it helps a bunch of people out every week. And great knowledge.
yeah. It's the weed thing. It blows my mind. People always ask me, like, if I tried this or tried that, and I was like, man, if I tried everything and tried to keep up with all you guys that are doing all this like groundbreaking shit, I got too many hobbies to be, I'd never have any reefer to smoke if I was trying to keep up with all the crazy shit that's coming out now.
That's cool. Good old boy in Colorado. I love it.
Do you want to maybe show people, maybe a standard pipe that they might buy for their first time? Maybe they never smoked, they're just looking to get into it. And I could maybe explain how the shotgun works and stuff like that, or carburetor, or whatever you guys call it where you are.
Yeah.
Those are...
So, these are, you guys all still there?
Yep.
Okay, cool. These are, so these up here are kind of a cooler version of what I was talking about, like a daily driver, throw them in your pocket type of spoon. And I say, and I'm speaking for everyone right now, but I say that that is the quintessential weed pipe. It's a bowl, it's a mouthpiece, and it's a carb or a rush, or like you were saying, Steve, shotgun. But yeah, it's stuff it up, light it, holding your thumb over this. So this is what you'd be coming up to your mouth, and then always cornering the bowl. Take your hit and release your thumb, and that's it. Pass it on to your buddy or not. But that to me is like the pipe. If you were gonna have one and none other, then that to me is the pipe. That is what I would carry going hiking or whatever, just in my pocket. Now, if I was gonna take friends in a backpack and all that, I would get into something more like that. But I think that for the beginning smoker, when I had my storefront and was talking to all of my end users, that's what I recommended first. You can get into these, and there's people that love these as well. And this is the beginning that I was talking about, the $24 beginning here. But just your kind of the same thing, but in a one-hitter thing. What I don't like about it is that it doesn't have that carburetor. I prefer to have the carburetor. I think you can control your hit a little bit more. Plus,
Yeah, I really don't even use the carburetor on those small, I don't use the carburetor hardly. I almost let it siphon the air so I don't suck the flower through the hole. So the carburetor to me is to release pressure, so you're not just sucking something to a hole. You got that, you can release the pressure. That's how I ended up having to use
a screen.
Yeah, well, you can use a screen, but that's a pain in the butt. Well, I have a thing about it. Well, I don't want to stop your in the question, but I just wanted to say that's what I use the carburetor for. Basically, don't so.
I recommend not, at least with my pipes, not using a screen, just because I feel like then you're just reverting back to smoking out of metal, even though it's, I think it defeats the purpose of spending the money on a glass pipe. if you're just going to put metal in there and burn it off of that. And I I feel the same way about the titanium. People would always ask me when I had my storefront, why don't you preach the titanium thing? And my whole thing was I got into this to not have to smoke off of metal. It can be the greatest titanium. It could be metal grade or medical grade. It could be something that you let a doctor shove in you somewhere. But that's why I got into it, because I'm also from a time where everybody smoked out of metal pipes. I started blowing glass in the early 2000s, so most people had a metal pipe. But my whole thing was I just didn't want to smoke off metal. So when titanium came out and all that, it just seemed like it was a revert back to me. So I don't recommend any titanium or anything like that. I'm sure there's great titanium out there. It's just not for me.
That's a good point. Can I ask about maintenance of those small pipes? What'd you call them again? To make sure I get your terminology right.
So they're this
Inside
here,
out or whatever.
Okay, inside out is the technique that's used to make it.
Right.
It's hard to show you, but
I've seen the technique. I watched it before, so yeah, to make that.
the
Also called double
stuff
blow.
is drawn on the inside. Not really. It's so.
I wanted to ask is well, the question was is once you get it all gunked up with resin and all, how do you clean it out?
How I do it is alcohol and salt.
There you go. So a lot of people would like to know that. I'll get that question all the time. I've heard everything from olive oil to boiling it to,
No, boiling it, you take what's stuck on the inside and you make it stuck on the outside is what I found.
Yeah. So how do you go? What's your process then? You use.
I take alcohol and salt and cover as many holes as I can and shake the shit out of it. I'm spoiled, so I have all these corks that I use to actually fabricate the glass. I'll stick that. So if I was going to clean this bong, 2 holes, one in the mouthpiece, one in the joint.
Yeah, man.
I'd stuff that in the joint and I'd fill it up at least to where I fill it up to smoke it.
Right, so you can still take it. Yeah.
With alcohol and salt, and then just shake the shit out of it. If you need more, do it again. But it's that I used to sell the shit out of that 710 cleaner. It is literally alcohol's better. Alcohol evaporates before it even.
You're talking about pure alcohol, pretty much pure alcohol, or any alcohol.
If you can get it, but if I mean, save your Jose for your tummy, but.
Don't talk about ice.
I buy
95, 90% or something like that.
This is 70.
70. Okay.
So I mean, if I'd prefer to get the 90, but or whatever it is, 91. But if they don't have it, I mean, okay. This stuff evaporates right away. The 710 and stuff. I have a septic system, so I always was leery about that. I don't, if it tells me not to put this other stuff, why do I want? I don't know. I just like alcohol and salt.
Yeah. So how much salt do you put in when you put like a teaspoon or?
I just pour some in. You know what I mean? What I usually do is I'll pour it down through the joint that you're dabbing or smoking through from the top, and I'll let it fill up. I'll let it go down until it fills up that whole stem. And then I'll just pour alcohol through that, and it forces it through. And that right there kind of breaks it up a little bit. And then from there, I go into my shake thing. But you're talking about a $2 bottle of alcohol and a $4 big ass thing of salt. So I'm pretty liberal with it. I mean, I got the shit spilled all over the place, and I don't, but with that 710, you got to be really, it's a waste to spend money on shit.
Now I'm with you. Buy salt and alcohol. You know, why buy some chemical? You know, and put it on and something you're going to light up with a fire again. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Thank you. I think a lot of people get a lot out of that because I know there's a lot of guys with sticky bongs out there and sticky everything, and they have no clue how to get it. I mean, we just woke up the world on how you clean your bong right there.
Do you want to touch a little bit about
often, you know? Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
No problem. Oh, do you want to touch a little bit on percolators and maybe, you know, difference between like a honeycomb and a shower head, or maybe the advantages of the different kinds, or?
Yeah. So so I have a honeycomb. They're in my lineup. I don't like them. I think that they clog up quickly. Whether you're using them for concentrate or for flower, that I feel like it's a bad design. What I've made them for in the past and why I have them is people request them. But basically I don't think it's a great thing, and I'm not going to stick with them. Plus the import scene, just a lot of import bong manufacturers, Chinese stuff, they put in a honeycomb or 3 honeycombs. It doesn't function any better. Some store owner can mark it up to $300 and then sell it to you for half of that, and they only bought it for $30. So basically I don't do the honeycomb because of that.
Yeah.
It became its own thing kind of. I like a fabricated perk. Did you say a shower head?
Yeah.
So this one would be considered like a shower inside of a bong. And I can grab one. Let's see here.
Hate to be a pain in the ass, Matt, but can you put them on that table? Can you put the 2 or 3 that he was asking about on the table? And
Yeah.
The difference of them?
I was trying to find one that I have one that's partially fabricated over there, so I was trying to find that. So this one, this sandblasting makes it kind of hard to see.
I can see it,
but
thanks. So you're doing great, man.
It's got what we call a Maria. That's a glass blowing term, and that's what that like squished out thing is. And then that's where the slits are at. So it's forced to go up through that main tube, and then it comes out that top, and then comes down this side, and is forced out this water, out these holes here. So when you fill it up with water to here, that's what's percolating through there to make the bubbles up in this chamber. So it would come down, go through that percolator, which this one has
that's nice.
4 slits. It's hard to see. 4 slits here, and then it's got 6 slits up here, so 10 in total. That again, there's bongs out there and manufacturers, and I've done a lot of R&D in this. I have a shitload of bongs on my table that we blaze and we try out and we let customers hit when they come up to the studio and stuff. But that kind of 8 to 12 holes, it functions the best. When you get up into these like 50 and 70 holes and 31 arms and all this stuff, it's really just more shit to break. It doesn't function any better. You know, you look at this tube right here, and the first thing people always say is could you put slits going all the way up it? I want it to get more percolation. But that doesn't get you any more percolation. All it does, basically, it's a path of least resistance. It's only going to use 4 holes in this downstem, whether I have 50 holes in it or whether I have 4 holes in it. It's only going to use the top 4. It's never gonna, the smoke is never gonna make its way all the way down to the bottom if it's got 4 holes at the top, which are, you know, even if it has 46 more to go through, it's only going to go out those. Same thing with up here. I've made these and made tons and tons of slits in them and made them in a very wide tube, and it made the tube very cumbersome, and it just didn't hit any better. It almost lost draw. So this is kind of like a simplicity wins thing, where A, it's stronger because it has less slits, and B, it actually almost creates more, a good word to use is like vacuum pressure, you know, that comes through there because they go through so many anyway. It's a path of least resistance.
That's great, man. Shoot. So basically, you think maybe they just did that to keep adding holes so they could keep bumping up the price, saying it's not more.
Yeah, it's a marketing thing, you know.
You only need 20.
They have to improve upon what they're doing, you know what I mean? If their whole thing is just marketing, that's what's nice about making my own product and putting it out there. I don't have a giant sales team that I pay. I don't have all of this overhead. My business is I don't know if you guys can see it, but I bought an old country house 10 years ago that had a big shop building attached to it, and I took the bottom of it and turned it from a rotten, moldy garage into a 4-car garage into a studio. And everything I do is in-house. I can kind of run that over with you guys too before. So over here is where I do all of my graphics. So anything that I'm cutting, like I showed you that moose head and the mountainside graphics that go on here, that all gets cut on this machine with this computer stuff, hand peeled. The stickers go from that machine to where then they would basically be like this in a 2-foot by whatever sheet. I peel them by hand. Then I put transfer tape on them. That's what's on here, you know, that you'd typically use to put a sticker on anything. Then from there, I'd show you, but it's out back and dark. I have a sandblasting cabinet that's just like a regular sandblaster with a silicon carbide media and a compressor.
Yeah, you
and I blast it.
Yeah, you got gloves, right? You reach with gloves.
Yep. Reaching with gloves. Then this is most of you guys would know as a grow tent, right? That's what we call. This is affectionately known in mountainside land as the grotto booth. So this is where all the cool mountainside photos that you see goes down in this little grow tent right here.
Oh man, that's nice.
So that's the grotto booth, and that's where all the photos go down. So here's all the where we have everything. This is essentially just our back stock. I used to have a storefront that I have since let a dispensary take over, and they sell my glass for me, so I don't have to be there dealing with the customers anymore. But I was able to snag some of these old cases. This is from a bowling alley up in Estes Park years ago, like from the 60s, that I just wasn't willing to leave behind. So I use that to store back stock. Everything from, jewelry for your mom, like pendants and whatnot, to the pipes, to, cases and all that kind of stuff. Just for the people that come up for repairs and stuff. These are some stuff out of the custom line. And that's what I was talking about earlier with the expensive work added to not cheap, but the daily stuff. This is all these cups have different sandblasting. There's a 13 bolt. There's Elvis on this one, or that one's John Deere. Dude, examples for what you can have blasted on your tube. This one's a pot leaf. And there's just we press our own t-shirts a lot of times over here. This is the machine that I make everything on. This is a Lytton machine. It's made out of Grass Valley, California. This is like a mid 1970s that I got from NASA. It's hard to focus this, but this is it says government authorized removal only, which I'm not authorized to remove, so I've not removed that yet. But
yeah, like don't.
This is what I make all the. Yeah, I don't want them coming in here and. The mattress deal.
Don't remove this tag.
This is my burner. I can light this up for you.
Fucking cool, man. Yeah, well, see, one thing about machines, good machines are good machines, whether they were made in the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, or 1960s. You know, they're badass.
They were made before the 80s.
Yeah, as long as
Yeah.
they're made before the 80s. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, it's solid. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? I've used if I want to move this thing, it takes either a forklift or I've got a Tommy lift on the back of my truck. So that's how I move it around.
Yes. Yeah, that's nice.
And then, once it got in here, it's been moved twice for wildfires. We're up here in fire country, so I do get it out of here for that. Then this is where I make all of my like hand stuff. So we talked about that inside out line. This burner gets moved over here. And then that's where I make all of that. And I make this stuff. It's going to be hard to focus on, but this is like that. Let me find a different one that's better example. These are just the ends, the scrap ends, but you can kind of see that blue and white. That's the stuff that I draw in the inside out with. Inside of these, this will become a pipe.
Oh, you've already blown the ends out, right? You blew the end out and then let them sit.
Sorry, I lost you guys for a second there.
Okay, so it went both ways. We lost you too. It froze.
Gotcha.
Okay, it was freezing. All right.
Back?
Okay, I was asking. So you said are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you were. Yeah, I feel old now. All right. So when you said, well, this starts out as a pipe, and that's when it froze, and I asked you if you pre-blew out, you made all those ends bulbous, right? You closed them up.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it starts out when I purchased my material. I skipped over. Now I smoked a blunt, so now I'm all over the place. But this is just a stupid sign. But so this is all the raw material. This is like the big stuff down here. This is like your main tubes that I make all that stuff. So you can make stuff out of this, but I mostly use it as tools. Like I'll cut this down and weld it to the front of that and use it as my other handle.
Right.
So this hand is holding the thing. This hand is holding the tool piece of glass.
I'll tell you what, this is going to turn into one of the best tutorials on how to blow glass on the planet by the time we're done.
And then let's see what. So this is color, and I get the color in a bunch of different ways. So I either get it in these sticks. So like here's a little piece of it. They come in like 21-inch pieces basically. Silicate color. This is acid yellow. And I just built this little rack out of PVC, glued it together.
Cool. And it's made out of what? What the sticks are made out of what?
That's just borosilicate color. How it gets the color is different metals that are in it.
Right.
At different amounts of them, different. Like these are made out of cadmium. They call these cadmium colors.
Okay, so they're all made out of different minerals, and basically.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I know from
Yep.
mixing my own nutrients from my hydroponic farm, I know you can make some, you know, and I had chemistry class in Texas where, you know, we got to go play in a lab with, and you can make all these colors, and it was all by adding minerals together, you know, elements.
There again, I don't all breaks that what all is into it, but I'm like I said, I know how to use them. I don't know what they're made out of. I've never have barely scratched the surface of that. You know, there's people that are in the industry of making it that that they've never blown glass.
But you made the answer to the question, because it's all it's basically all the colors are made by different elements and minerals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
different like amounts of different things that give them their colors.
Cool. Thank you.
And then from there, they have like frit, and which is like broken down color. So it's basically like the odd shaped stuff. They'll take that and they turn it into this stuff, which can be deadly. Like if you breathe it in, it's glass powder and dust.
Like a silica kind of dust.
Exhaust. That's the other thing for like beginners. Make sure you got at least fans moving the air around you at very minimum, if not exhausting it. I built this whole thing out of, I'm actually redoing it right now. That's what that 12-inch flex duct will soon go into this opening here, which we built onto the lathe. And these are old, and this goes back to me saying, like, I still to this day try not to go crazy with stuff. These are old. This one's an old file cabinet that I bought at like the CSU Surplus, which is the local Colorado State University. This one is a old cabinet that you would store like paint and whatnot in, that I got out of one of my bro's mechanic shops. This is where the doors hooked up to it. You know, you can imagine it had doors or whatever, but and this all goes through this just basic exhaust that anyone that set up a grow could set up, you know, and then gable mounted fans up in here, and that blows out into my backyard behind the shop there. But yeah, that's, shoot, have I covered everything? Let's see. Then my tool room is a disgusting mess right now, but this is where my oxygen comes from. It's this big oxygen doer in here, and this is what they call a 160 liter, roughly not quite 1,000 pounds of liquid oxygen will go in this. It's got a tare weight of like 650 pounds, and then the tank probably weighs somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 to 300 pounds. Liquid oxygen in this cylinder, then process, it creates compressed oxygen at the top, which then comes out and blows out into these, you know, regulators, which you set per your torch make and model. And this will run, like, I mean, I've had as many as like, you know, 6 other people working in my studio, and that machine will run it. I'm now the only fabricator. I've kind of just necked it down to where it's just easier that way. So I don't I don't have the big oxygen load anymore, but I still run the big tank, and if you're gonna work all the time, you pretty much have to run off of liquid oxygen. If you're buying compressed oxygen all the time, it's the difference of having a CO2 burner and going and getting bottles every 2 days for your grow.
So is that a settle? Is that, I'm sorry if you mentioned it. Is it oxygen and acetylene, or what type
Oxygen
of
propane.
oxygen propane?
Yep. Oxygen propane.
Awesome. That's really cool. Now, is there any other, I don't know, maybe funkier pieces or something out there, or maybe weird things you saw that maybe you want to try sometime? Like, is there anything out there you saw and you're just like, wow, that's kind of cool. I want to.
I mean,
So maybe, or anything in the trade
as
shows
far
or anything
as far
recently you
as
thought was kind of nifty?
as far as making stuff,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I do still fall into that. Typically, though, it's outside of like the pipe thing. It's kind of more in like the so realistic. You know? I like the pipes and all that they stand for and whatnot, but I also make them and they fit my lifestyle or whatever. But I also make them because that's that's where you can be a glass blower and continue to sell stuff. So I would say that if I was aspiring to like really make something else or whatever that I don't have in my production line, I think it would be like big offhand soft glass, which I've gotten into a little bit, but there again, it's just money that I was spending to do or whatever. But my thing more would be people I want to work with. You know, there's a lot of people that that I'm more about working. I want to work with more people than I am necessarily about like me making like more. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I see pieces all the time, but it's kind of like that's your piece. You make that piece. That's cool. I'd like to make one of those, but that's like your signature piece or whatever. So I don't necessarily go crazy into what I want to make or whatever, but I just want to keep making cool pipes that people want to buy and can afford to buy. I've lately been having a lot of fun with like hourglass style recyclers. Like there's this one just close offhand. Oh shit, what did I just spill? Oh, nothing sweet.
So where would somebody order something from you if they watched our show and saw something like that they wanted to order? Where would they go to order it up from you?
So www.mtnsideglass mountainsideglass.com is my website. Instagram is a good place. You can either go to @mountainside-glass. That's like a brand new business page that it's only got like 15 posts. But my personal is @mountainside @MTNSIDE. And that goes like right to this phone in my pocket. It's me posting stuff. The other one is my tech officer who runs my website posting it. But either one of those, you can email me at mattc@mountainsideglass.com, spelled the same way. Or if you're in Fort Collins, come kick it. I mean, the studio, I'm for sure here during the summer, Monday and Friday. It gets really hot during the day. So I don't blow glass all week long during the summer, but during, once these peak months right now are tough, but if you're here, I'll make time for anybody that hits me up. We love to have people come up and like I said, this is at my house and stuff. So I'm pretty much always available. That's my favorite way is when people hit me up and are like, hey, I'm going to be in Colorado next month. And That's the most fun way for me. But
That's
yeah,
cool.
just to get a pipe to you in Ohio, hit up mountainsideglass.com and we'll get you something.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Or if you have wholesale, like we were talking earlier, if somebody has wholesale inquiries, all that, same way, hit me up that way. And yeah.
Awesome.
That's cool. Yeah. I'd love to help you try to expand it a little bit too myself. I think you got really nice stuff. I'm not very impressed because it seems like everybody just wants to keep adding color and all kind of, and it's really cool. I mean, if I was 15 or 16, I might want one with a dragon on it or something, but I just as soon have clean, clear glass, so I know it's clean and clear and clean. And like you said, getting away from metals, we're all health conscious and all. So it's really nice that you think
Right.
about that. It's more about a health consciousness than it is just
Raj, I don't know what you mean about we're all health conscious. You can usually find me at Chick-fil-A Monday through Saturday. So.
And bitching about it on Sunday.
Yep.
No, the only thing I'm complaining is that they're closed on Sunday, citing
Yeah,
religious
that's what I
beliefs.
mean. That's what I mean. My 4-year-old, she always let's go to Chick-fil-A, and I'm like, well, it's Sunday. I'd be there if it wasn't.
Yeah, Lordy. So how does one end up being an apprentice for you, Matt? You were talking about apprentices. Just friends or?
Yeah, for a minute it was basically going through friends of friends and whatnot. At this point, I've really I would do it. I do it more on like guitar lessons, kind of like where I would help you set up a thing at your house or whatever in your shed, and then you go home and you work on whatever we worked on, and then you come back Tuesdays at this time, and for 2 hours we work on what you had problems with and try to produce you to be a good glass blower. Rather than the apprentice thing, you kind of run into like this, like having to hold people's hands, and these are people that wouldn't necessarily, if they were in a room by themselves, they would be trying more than me standing over their shoulders, and then at the same time as that, as far as having an apprentice to help me do my stuff, it's faster for me to just do it. And so I've kind of gotten away from the apprentice thing at this point. But I'm, like I said, I'm game to help whoever. If whoever wants to email me, I can chat with them and help them set up their thing. I've done that many times for many people, in just helping people, figure out all the little things that they need to get to start it with the hoses and the regulators and Teflon tape and all the little things that need to be accounted for.
That's pretty cool. That's basically what we all do, basically, for the most part. But you've already got it down to where you do appointments and stuff to help people out and tutor them personally, one-on-one. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm building a network for that kind of thing. I might get you involved in that. You might find that interesting. I'll have to talk to you about that later.
Okay.
After the show.
Cool.
This has been great.
Awesome. Yeah, no, man, that was so cool. Thank you so much for showing us around your studio and spending a lot of time with us this evening. And
yeah, it was fun. I've never really done this via the hangouts and at my own place and whatever. So this is cool. So it takes the edge off, I suppose.
Well, you were fantastic.
I'll be putting an order in soon as I have some cash to throw your way.
yeah, we'll have to get you guys. I'll have to get some Mountainside glass in this place we're working on out here. So.
Right on. Yeah. If you guys have any wherever you're at, if anybody has and not like trying to make a sales pitch, but if you guys know of shops that kind of cater to that boutique, you know what I mean, either manufacturer or buyer, you know what I mean, that isn't going to your typical run of the mill China like Whippet store, I know there's a lot of niche stores out there that are badass. That's pretty much who I link up with, and stores that guys like all of you and myself are, you know, that's their shop. That's where they go. That's where they stop by once a week to say what's up to the fellas or whatever. So.
Well, it sounds like you're happy and you've got everything you need. So it's not, and you're not all in it for the money. You're happy and you work doing what you're happy doing, and that's good enough for you.
And even during, like I said, it's hot during this time of year. So this time of year, I'm an independent contractor too, and I'm a carpenter during the super hot months when it's miserable to be sitting in front of a torch. It's either I can switch my life to work at night, which I did when I was a kid. When I say a kid, but before I had my own kids or kid.
I'm still a kid.
And I could, right, and could work all night. It was no big deal. The cool nights were a great time to work. And so I just blew glass all year long. But, you know, this time of year, how I can keep it rolling is stockpile glass and went on the weekends and Monday and Friday. And then I get after it Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I go and I don't want to call it a day job because it's not like my day job. It's more like a summer job. But no, that's the type of people that I like to have blazing out of my stuff. And that's why I have linked up, not even linked up. It's why I'm linked up with the growing community just more than anything else is because that's my kinfolk, is that type of person, you know?
Yeah, about his dreads. He's got some chick with him in the room that he's hooking up with.
I lost you. I lost Marty from
Steve.
Matt Frozo.
What's up?
My back?
What's up?
Yeah.
Are you talking to me or Steve?
Who?
Mountainside Glass is
Steve.
also a big supporter of the Do Grow Show. They've been doing the trophies for them for quite a while for the Do Grows Cup. They're always, you know, he's been a long time supporter of them, and you know we're big time supporters of the DGC. So, you know, try to support him if you can. If you're looking for some new glass, you know, definitely consider Mountainside because he's got a lot of awesome stuff. I had a chance to talk to him out when Fish Ganja guy and I went out to the DGC Cup, and we had a blast talking. So.
Dude, you were epic at the DGC Cup. For anybody that wasn't there, which is a lot of people, so Steve probably came closer than any human in that building to punching every number on that card. And I remember looking over my shoulder once, just seeing you standing there, and out of nowhere comes this 2 liter of Sprite that you just start guzzling.
That's awesome.
Like, that is the one person here who planned that.
And then I took a friend of mine with me, and he ended up getting so high he like couldn't stand much really anymore, and they had to get him a cab to send him home. It was kind of funny. Smoked so much he got asked to leave a weed fest, which is pretty funny. But it's okay. They made it home safe, and they're no worse for the wear. It's funny as people aren't used to doing like 30 or 40 or 50 dabs and a bunch of
I've never had a bucket list, but I might have to start one now.
Right?
Smoking so much weed, I get kicked out of a smoke fest.
I'm telling you, we need to put together like an Aquaponic Cannabis fest out here in Cali sometime soon.
Yeah, I've had a few friends.
Or the end of the year, maybe.
That'd be cool. Would somebody tell Matt to invite him to stay for the rest of the show and all? I mean, because, you know, we'd start to go off on it.
He probably. Well, he's welcome to stay for the rest of the show. Or,
yeah, I mean, you can set your
I don't know what
laptop
I lost you guys somehow. I don't know what the deal is.
Well, I was going to tell you,
okay.
go ahead and plant somewhere and just enjoy the show. Like, sit down and not move around. I think that's where your problems are coming from. You know, so if you get back to your little, where you started the show, there you go. You know, now we can all shoot the shit for the rest of the show. No problem. All right, I just want to bring that up because.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yes,
I didn't realize I was.
Do you grow it all, Matt?
Yeah, but I'm not. Yeah, I do, but not. I'm not like a grower. I just do my like 6 recreational between me and my wife.
Dutch grower.
Yeah.
You're a grower.
But
Have any strains that you like particular to grow?
no, I actually, that's how lazy of a grower I am. One of my buddies has a decent size grow, and so I get strains off of him and plants off of him.
Growing
And
whatever they're growing. I know how that goes. That's
I
one of mine.
actually, I don't even grow it. I just flower it.
Right.
Well, he gives you a veg clone or clones or something that are vegged, or
Yeah, I mean it's just they're legitimate, like 3 or 4 footers by the time I get them, and then I've got I
where
run
do I sign up for that?
two oh shit, what are they? Raptor 8s, just Cali Digiballast cheapos. Like I said, it's not. I learned how to do it a long time ago. I've never really changed. I run New Millennium now because I've linked up with those guys. They don't, like I said, they don't sponsor me or anything. They're just cool cats, and I was running like Botanicare before that, and they're like, no, you can't be running that shit. So
They're on my
that was it.
now, so no, we can no longer,
Friends don't let friends Botanicare.
I love Botanicare. I love Liquid Karma especially, but I can't support Monsanto. So I agree. Well, hey, I want to invite you to join ilovegrowingmarijuana.com. I run that forum, and if you that way you could come and see what some of the guys are doing now without costing you any extra money. We might be able to give you some tips, and you might get a few extra trichomes on them plants.
I'd be yeah, I'd be into that.
And do
like
it under Mountainside Glass too. Or join under Mountainside Glass, so then I can spread you around.
Cool.
Cool.
We'll get that worked out after the show.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, well, thanks a lot, buddy, for joining us. That was honestly just super, super cool. I don't think I've never gotten a full walkthrough of a glass shop like that with an explanation, man. That was so freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't realize I was breaking up all the connections. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, just every now and then, but you would totally wasn't enough to mess it up just until maybe that last second where Roger was talking anyway. So
yeah, the point I was making is it's if you just sit back down and enjoy the show and talk to us instead of walking around, it wasn't that it was breaking up and ruined the show. You didn't do you've given us an ultimate tour of an ultimate glass blowing shop as far as I'm concerned. I mean, all the kilns and I mean, that's no joke. That's no there's for you guys out there, I didn't even ask, but I know because my wife had a kiln. She had a Paragon, the smaller version, the floor mount, the unit you got where you said you sit all the mini bongs in, to keep it 800. Well, my wife had a smaller version because she made jewelry,
Okay.
So I know it. This man has tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment in there. Them freaking those kilns are thousands of dollars, pretty much, aren't they?
It's taken me a while to. It's definitely taken me a while to acquire my setup. You know what I mean? And that's where I say, like, I don't really have anyone around making stuff anymore. I've sort of figured it out after 15 years, what I need to do, what tools I need, what works. But that's the same as my equipment. I didn't get a loan for $100,000 and go buy a bunch of equipment. This started off with nothing 15 years ago literally in a small thing. So it's like, don't let it scare anyone away, but at the same time, you're right. It's a lot here, but it's
makes you think, huh?
it's what it's what you need to do it every day. But I want people to blow glass, so I don't want them to think like they gotta have $200,000 worth of equipment in a 4-car garage to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of what I try to preach. And but you're right, that and guts and glory and broken glass to get to this. And there's people that have much fancier and much crazier and more elaborate setups than mine. But I just wanted to show you guys what I had going on to I don't know, just to put my piece on it,
Well, I agree with Steve. It's the most awesome shop I've ever seen, and the walkthrough you gave us was just phenomenal. Like I said, this is probably going to be one of the best videos on glass blowing out there. I think, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of really good ones, and I've seen a few myself. But the in depth, you never see what you showed us tonight, Matt. I appreciate it, and all I was saying about you relaxing and sitting down was, now we're getting to the shoot the shit and have fun, goofy stuff at the stoner part of the podcast. And let's go, Steve.
So let's pick on Fish Ganja Guy for a second. Well, not pick on him, but Fish Ganja Guy, why don't you tell us what you got going on? Because we were talking about that in chat a little bit earlier.
Okay, well, let me just make sure my mic is on. Okay, cool. Always got to watch that mic. Whatever, I blame the one. Yeah, you. Love you, sweetie. Let's see. So, a couple things going on. One, I sent my final sample down to the lab today. They finally got me the shipping label, so that's en route. So, hopefully, it doesn't take them too long to get the results back to me, and I can finally air my results on the side-by-side with the Spectrum King and Black Dog. I just want to have one more sample in, so that way it's not just the one where it's like strain specific as far as why one had a higher potency than the other. But if it's consistent between two of the strains, then I can be a little bit more definitive in my conclusion. What's going on in the grow right now is that I noticed 2 or 3 leaves on one of my new phenos across the Titans were kind of clawing down and folding in on themselves. So I took a peek under them, and I saw a lot of ladybugs going to town in there. But I was like, no, ladybugs won't do this. So I took a look at a couple other leaves, and I noticed a couple tiny, tiny, tiny red dots. So I have the very start of looks like a mite infestation. And from what I've been talking to with a lot of other growers, this heat that we've been having in California has just been booming their population. So went ahead and did a heavy drench of Kapow today. I'm going to do another one in a few days, and then have to get a Fogmaster Junior or something so I can keep using that. I'm only on day 10 of flower right now, but I'm going to keep using it for a little bit since it'll be atomized to such a small size and will saturate any potentially growing buds. And it's only castor oil, lemongrass oil, water, and soap. And I know the lemongrass oil and the castor oil are good as miticides as well as antifungal components. So that extra moisture won't be doing anything to pump up the chance of any mildew or rot or anything like that. They'll actually help me to fight that. But I'm hoping to just keep my ladybug population up, because it looks like they were colonizing on that plant where the mites were. So I'm hoping they're going after it because they're hungry. But I'm going to re-up my ladybug population. I picked up some more beneficial nematodes today because, Steve, you're saying that they look like red russets that breed in the soil. So I'm just going to get some more nematodes in there on top of my initial dose that I did a few weeks back. And just keep on it.
Marty seemed to think they were broad mites, but I thought they were a little too red. Yeah,
they're pretty red. I'm going to get them under a better scope later, and I'll send you guys some images.
Yeah, that'll be much more.
They just look like way too big for russets. So, I would consider that more like a broad mite, even though it's like, you can tell it's darker in color. They tend to vary a little bit in that they're not completely clear. So that doesn't look bad yet. So I would definitely say they're about, 20 times too big to be russets, in my opinion.
Yeah, on the leaf that I looked at, there were just like 2 of them on that one leaf, and all the other plants around it looked healthy. But yeah, I just went in there in the dark with my headlamp and just saturated every plant in the garden, top and bottom. Turned off my fans so that way the oil stayed on there longer. And I made sure to get the stalks, branches, and soil as well a little bit too.
So if you can get live lace wings, then that would be best to hit like with like an enzyme spray and then live lace wings. If you get the cards with the eggs that hatch, then what I would do is do a spray and then like an enzyme spray like BCE. And
So
then
that's what I was thinking with the lace wings, but Steve was telling me that the aphid lines, the larvae, don't go after mites. They just go after aphids. But I've heard that they go after mites just as well if there are no aphids around.
Lace wings will go after mites. It's the
Yeah.
ladybugs that don't.
Ladybugs don't. But what you can do, since you do have, it looks like you have some adults in there, is ladybugs are good for like wiping out adult populations, but they just farm bugs. They do that with lots of different stuff to where they just eat the adults and then the young ones just raise up and they'll just continue to eat them. So,
Okay.
but what you can do though is if you can only get, a lot of times you can only get lace wings available on the cards, and they take about 3 days to start hatching from the time that you get them, especially if you have them shipped to you. So what you can do is release ladybugs, and then they'll go nuts for the first 3 days, and then your lace wings will hatch after that, and that'll give you kind of a nice 2-way setup.
Totally. Oh, sorry, just had to chug a glass
Both
of
of those
wine
are
right
really
there. So I'm probably going to order some lace wings tonight. I think Nature's Control is one of the sites I've heard a lot of people recommend, so I'm going to check them out and get that on a rush, because since I'm just starting to get the beginnings of some buds, I'd rather get this handled sooner than later. You know,
Remember to dilute your cacao and flour to a 9-to-1 ratio. You can use it as low as, I think it's an 18-to-1 if memory serves me right. When we had the guy on the show.
9-to-1, it says if you have an active infestation, or up to 18-to-1, or I'm sorry, down to 18-to-1 if you're just doing maintenance. I've been doing 18-to-1 and cycling with my other foliar programs, but apparently even that wasn't enough for what's going on this season. So I'm gonna keep it at that 9-to-1 for a little bit. Just ordered some more cacao. Luckily, I remembered to get the commercial, not the RTU, and yeah, hopefully I can knock this out.
Well, yeah, you got to remember this is a time of year that both Oregon and California both are releasing predator mites to help keep down their weeds. So you get the added bonus of dealing with that. So you can thank your state when you pay the taxes as well.
Fun times.
Yeah.
All right.
Super fun. But I would definitely, you can do the oil spray, but I would, like, if you do the lemongrass one, I would wait at least like 3 days before, maybe 2 days before I release beneficials, because it will leave a residue that will start killing them off. Ladybugs, I wouldn't worry so much about because they're pretty hardy anyway, but the lacewings would definitely, they start out, since a lot of times they hatch really small. So you can check out some of the videos on my channel. I have a whole beneficial bug thing you can check out if you want to go check that out. And I did lacewings and mantis and destroy your bugs and all kinds of stuff.
Right on. Yeah, I'm probably gonna order the lacewings and give them a couple weeks to get everything under control before I consider doing an atomized cacao in there. I just need to make sure that it's under control, because I'm pretty sure that bug chitin doesn't smoke too smoothly. So
Oh, it's pretty rough.
yeah, that's what I've heard. So I'd rather not have that flavor on everything I'm doing.
Yeah, so the lacewings will die off. Unless you have like areas of high humidity, they're not going to breed. So they'll pretty much just hatch and then die off. So you won't have to worry about them sticking around too long. So if you plan on I wouldn't worry about after about, I don't know, I would say maybe a week and a half or so, you're probably not going to have any of them left alive to kill anyway, and you can go back to treating with some type of spray if you want to, without being concerned that you're killing the bugs that you're paying for. But they are cheap. That's my favorite thing about both lacewings and ladybugs. You can get a lot of them for not very much money, whereas like nematodes or predator mites or of the other ones can be fairly expensive. But like Steve was saying, nematodes for anything that breeds in the soil is ideal. They really are are probably the best bang for your buck, even though they're a little bit more expensive. And if you use them correctly, you can make them go a long ways. Those little sponges have a lot of them in them, and if you read the directions and how to do it right, you can cover a lot from just one sponge. There's millions of them in there. So, even take a look at them under a microscope and make sure that you're getting a good concentration of them. That's not too thick or too thin, and then be able to spread that out, and you'll find it goes a long ways.
Yeah, the ones that I've been finding both on Amazon and over at Orchard Supply and Hardware, where they carry the Orcon brand, comes as either a powder or they're just in a bunch of vermiculite. They're not on the sponge. I haven't found any of those yet.
Yeah, so they come both ways. It's basically just different media that they're able to live on. One is a sponge, one is just a different type of media. So that's not a big deal. And if you go through Nature's Control, they're actually local here to me. They provided a lot of the bugs for my beneficial insect series, and I've worked with him for a long time. If you talk with Nathan there, he'll kind of give you an idea of what's available at the time, because sometimes it's difficult to get certain, like sometimes you just can't get live lacewings and you have to get the cards and the eggs like I talked about. So if you just shoot him an email or give him a call at his website, they're usually really helpful as far as like letting you know what's available, and they'll drop ship stuff to you if you need it right away. And they don't have it, then they can just have it sent right to you.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, I'm gonna get on there tonight as soon as I get back from walking the dogs, and get right on that, because I need this shit handled. I'm doing this with no mercy shown.
Cool. It's like what they do. So they provide beneficial bugs mainly for cannabis growers. So he'll know exactly what you're talking about. Tell him you talk to me if you want, and I'm sure he'll be able to help you figure out whatever you need. You can even send him pictures. He'll help you identify the bugs and then tell you what's best to treat them. So I've had nothing but good luck with them.
Between lacewings and predator mites, in your personal experience, what have you found to be more efficacious?
Well, I would say that it depends a little bit on what you can get. If you can get live lacewings, like I talked about, then they're great for spot treating. If you can't get them, then I would go with predator mites. If you had something like say just a general spider mite, like the two-spotted spider mite, I find that the predator mites really work better than anything else, even though they're more expensive. The lacewings definitely work, and you have to buy more of them in order to make it work. So even though, like, say for instance, if you're gonna buy like 1,000 predator mites, it might cost you like $50 or give or take $20. I don't even know, but they cost a little bit more. Whereas a lacewing, you can get a card of eggs that has like 500 of it for like $12.99. It's like 1,500 of them ladybugs for like $12.99 as well. So all of I sort of have those on the cheaper bracket, and so that's kind of how I compare them. Is that I can buy 5 times as many lacewings as I can predator mites. So it kind of depends on, do I need to cover a large area, and do I have a really concentrated place I want to treat? If I only see them in like one area and I know it's a specific bug, like the two-spotted spider mite, then or even broad mites, like we think you might be dealing with, then I would definitely start releasing those predator mites in those specific areas. If I want to cover a big area and I'm just trying to do like preventative, like let's say I just brought in a bunch of plants from somebody else, picked up a bunch of clones or something like that, I want to cover a lot of area, but I don't necessarily see like any big infestations, then I'd probably go with ladybugs and lacewings and the combination like I talked about. So kind of depends on where you're at. If you've got an active infestation where you could directly release predator mites onto, then I would do that. So nematodes is kind of on that top level as well. If you know you have an infestation and you can see it, and know that it's in your soil, then just buy the nematodes and hit them with it. And then you can do preventative stuff from then on out. You probably don't need to buy nematodes every time. They are pretty persistent. But that's kind of what I would say would be the guidelines I would have for which bugs I would purchase for when.
Yeah,
Man, I appreciate it. I'll get you guys some better pictures tonight.
nematodes really are the best silver bullet for aquaponics for as far as anything with roots, so root mites, root aphids, russet mites, thrips, fungus gnats, slugs, snails, all of those. Anything that's going to be laying eggs in the soil or periodically going to the soil to get water, or, for part of its life cycle, nematodes are going to infect. The one downside you can have to your system is, so if you have a lot of copepods, such as scuds and things like that, or freshwater fairy shrimp, and they're heavily present in the media beds, they won't wipe them out of the system, but they can wipe them out of the media beds, at least the media beds that you treat with nematodes temporarily until they kind of get a balance back again. After a while, eventually the nematodes will die out, but you're best to, if you're in a commercial setting, reseeding your nematodes every 3 months, and then in a home setting, every 6 months or so.
Right on, man.
They're also killer. You can put them in your yard if you have fleas or ticks in your yard. They'll attack them just the same.
Nice.
You can spread them in the grass and stuff.
All right, guys. Well, I'm glad I was able to update you a little bit, and thank you for all the input. I will keep you posted on all things aquaponic related that happen over here. Roger, Brain, Matt, Marty, Gorgeous, I will see you all soon.
Thanks, Fish.
Night, guys.
Later, brother.
Thanks, Fish. All right, Marty, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, let's see, I made a new worm bin. I had a tote, like a good sized tote, that we kind of ruined in the process of moving. I can remember something happened to the lid or something like that. So anytime I have something like that happens, I'm like, boom, worm bin. So it's a larger one, so it's bigger than I had before. I was running out of room anyway, so I set that up, and it's working good. I finished up my sour plum fermented fruit extract, so got all that pulled out and stored away, and now I can use it just like you would a concentrate, like you would get out of a bottle you buy at the store. So I, once the ferment's been done and it's not active and stabilized anymore, basically just stored in the fridge. And really up to about a year I've been able to use them. Some people say only 6 months, but I haven't had an issue with it. So I pretty much just store it in there, and you dilute it a little bit at a time, and yeah, works pretty good. And let's see. So when I made the new worm bin, I extracted some of the compost out of the bottom of the new one and put it on top of all my dual root zones. So I think there was somebody asking earlier about, if you use dual root zones, is there a point to using dual root zones if you're not going to be feeding bottled nutrients that you'd buy at the store? And I don't, I have dual root zones set up in a number of places, and I don't generally buy stuff from the store and feed bottled nutrients of any kind. Usually it's my own compost that I'm top dressing, or a ferment that I've done. Like in this case, I collected a bunch of sour plums from my front yard that taste gross and nobody eats anyway, and they just fall on the ground and go to waste. So I have my kids collect all of them and put them all together in a bucket and get them all fermented up, and use microbes to essentially eat them and turn them into plant food, and then store it. So that's kind of been the projects that I've been working on. I've been getting ready to move, so I haven't really been, like, as far as like my indoor cannabis grow, there's not really much going on. My plants are just vegging right now, so there's not a lot going on there. So I don't even supplement in veg. unless I start seeing like an iron issue or something like that.
Right.
There's really not a need. So
Give them a little mammoth P, make them bush a little.
oh yeah, so when I would say probably when I start training them over to the net, when they get big enough to start hitting the bottom of the scrog net, that's when I'll hit them with their first tee. And then that usually is, I add a small dose of Mammoth P right before I feed it. So I drain through my worm bin and do my whole process. And then right before I feed it to the plants is when I add Mammoth P, like we talked about on the show with the guy from Mammoth P. So that's when I hit them with their first one, and so they're usually a solid, like, I would say 24 inches tall, and have been topped once before I even worry about hitting them with Mammoth B. Although I'm pretty confident there's still some left in the system persistent. If the system's healthy, there should be a small amount of it that persists, especially throughout my different areas, whether it's the dual root zone, I've inoculated in the worm bin, and so I'm not sure exactly where all that stuff spreads to, but I would imagine there's still some of it that persists in my system, whether it's in the water, the dual root zone soil, the worm bin, all the different places that it gets inoculated into. But that's when I hit them with that first tee, which I did. I do have my plants are up to the net and have started training them over the first one and have been topped. So that's usually kind of the process that I go through to get started training them to the scrog net. Is once they hit that bottom, the top hits up there, it gets cut down, they grow up again, and then I'll usually hit them. If I have like 2 or 3 that are really poking up, then I'll even top it one more time in those 3 spots to get a nice spread, and then I start tucking into the net, going in and out and over the top. So I do primarily low stress training, some super cropping if I have some branches that are getting out of control, but for the most part I stick to low stress training to a scrog net. So yeah, that's kind of it for the aquaponic system. I have the sips that are going underneath the ceramic metal halides. So I feed those with water from the aquaponic system and sludge from the filters, so fish poop. Compost is all from, again, the stuff that I make. My homemade compost from the worm bin is what goes into the soil layer of the sips. So I try to make as much stuff as I can. I do end up buying some stuff like the iron supplement that we talked about, even though my water is pretty rich in iron. When if I get a number of plants in flower, they can really start taking it up a lot faster, even than what I can provide with my well water. So I do supplement iron maybe like once every 3 months or so, and usually that's just during or right starting into heavy flower that I start doing that. So that's kind of my little routine there, and where I'm at.
So now, do you aerate your sips?
I don't. So they would be anaerobic sips, and so and when you're breeding labs, it really thrives in an anaerobic environment anyway. So as long as, I suppose, about every other feeding, I'm hitting mine with labs, because I use the EM1 Bokashi brand, which basically has got it built into there, and I add that into my worm bin. I add it into various teas. I add it into my ferments. It's kind of cool to extract the the solids left from the plum ferment and throw it into the worm bin, and you see them just immediately get covered in that white fuzz. Like within 24 hours, they're all inoculated with essentially labs from that. So they act just like a Bokashi brand would, in that you're just delivering the microbes in food all at once. So it's sort of a natural like a natural food source and inoculation at the same time. So it's kind of cool to use the solids in that way as well. So I try to bring that stuff in as much as I can and use it, just to foster microbes at just about every level that I can.
Would you say that your ferments are mostly end up being potassium and phosphorus?
Well, obviously that depends a little bit on what you're doing. Most of the time, if I'm doing, like, for instance, you can do comb-free, which is, going to be a lot more, it's going to be like a 5.5 as opposed to, maybe like the fruit, like the sour one, the sour plum one I just did is probably going to be more like a, it's going to have significantly less phosphorus and more potassium. So,
that's what
but probably more magnesium. So you kind of have to, look at. Actually, we posted something. Maybe I don't know if Steve has that still. I think you posted it as well. The kind of guide to ferments and what the rough NPK value is of different ferments. Do you remember?
Yeah, is it in the file section in the Aquaponic Cannabis Growers? If not, I'll try to put it into a PDF or something, throw it up there.
Yeah,
I
we
know
should
that I
throw it up
posted
on
it there.
Roger forum. So
We need to do better about posting files there.
Right.
We posted a lot of stuff once or twice.
So basically, depending on the fruit you ferment, you can create. I'll just try to clarify this for everyone. Depending on the fruit you're fermenting, you can create different amendments or different supplements.
Well, the purpose of the ferment is to the lactobacillus breaks down the what the hell is it called? The wood pulp. What's it called? The wood cellulose. It breaks down the cellulose so they can get to the compounds inside that are plant beneficial for the microbes to work with and the plants to work with. It also helps extend the mycorrhizal networks, feeds the mycorrhizal networks to pair up with the plant's root system that actually deliver the nutrients to the plant itself. So it kind of it isolates like proteins, and then it also benefits the mycorrhizal networks at the same time. So it's not as simple as saying it does one thing or another. It's kind of doing two or three things at the same time. And we talked about that a lot last week, actually. We went real in depth on the lactobacillus ferments.
Right. So this would be considered a fermented fruit extract because instead of adding brown sugar, I'm adding what you would use to sort of feed and grow microbes inside of your ferment. So if you're doing like a Korean natural farming style fermented fruit juice, then you would be adding brown sugar in equal amounts to your whatever you're fermenting, and using that as your primary way of growing microbes in it by adding a lot of food source. So if you call it an extract, that's usually when you're adding microbes that you've already taken from another source. So in this case, I have EM1 Bokashi brand that I bought from Terragenics. You can order it off their website. You can make it yourself. You can probably buy some sort of Bokashi brand at your store. And so I'm adding that in to have already existing microbes that will essentially just start right away. So that's the main sort of rough differences between what I consider an extract versus a juice, a fermented juice or fermented extract. So there's a number of different terms and ways of doing it. We talked about last week. You can check it out, the Korean Natural Farmers Group. There's the Probiotic Farmers Alliance. There's a number of different brews that you can do. Like if you Google flower power, that's one of the ones that comes up a lot. You'll find like Roberto's brew is another one that you can check out. That are basically just easy ones that you can do different things. You do the same process with different things to get different stuff. So if you want to do it with horsetail fern, you can get silica boost. If you want to do it with comfrey, you can get more of a even general fertilizer that's more of like a 1-1-1 kind of shotgun approach. Or beetroot juice, for instance, is another one that has more of a balanced NPK level that comes out of your ferment. So depending on what you ferment, comes out different. Moringa, yeah. Steve always reminds me of that one. But beetroot is definitely one of the more common ones. It's like if you've heard of grow kashi, it's what they use to soak a lot of their kashi in, and it's really popular with the Probiotic Farmers Alliance. And if you look at their instructions that they post about how to make the product that they sell, you can see right there on the list that beetroot juice is one of the main things that they use to soak their brand in. And one of the reasons why it's a little bit different than your standard Bokashi brand and why a lot of cannabis growers specifically use it. So if you want to check that out, that's through the Probiotic Farmers Alliance, and Grow Kashi is the name of that company.
And I've met Alan at the guy who owns it. I think his name is Alan. If memory serves me right. I've met him at the Indo Expo. He's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, Alan's definitely a cool guy. He's it was very similar in terms of like, you know, how he built everything from the ground up, and, you know, kind of does everything himself, sort of the equivalent of the of our guest tonight on in the Kashi world, and that he just kind of started acquiring things, and now he's, you know, definitely he's at a lot of different cups. Like you said, you met him there. They've really been expanding. I think, you know, he's the big driving force behind the Probiotic Farmers Alliance, and he does earth boxes, and the probiotic gardening is kind of his big stick. So, and I think they're like 20,000 members strong these days, and they can, I think we've talked about before, they can get a little elitist.
A little bit.
And a while ago, there was some debate around whether or not aquaponics was probiotic. And I think that was when Steve exited a while ago.
Yeah. That's when I made the mistake of informing them how phytocyanin works.
So, so outside of that, though, that debate's been settled in the group, and you can discuss aquaponics in it now. But it's definitely, like I said, like a lot of cannabis groups can get elitist, but there's a lot of good information in there as well.
Yeah, and it's funny how like some of the niche groups can have a couple of bristly people that just ban you for disagreeing with them. It's happened a couple of times recently. I know it happened to me. It's happened to you. It's happened to Fish Ganja guy. It's happened to Roger. You know, you always end up, if you're doing something that's a little too different, you scare them. So
if you know what you're talking about, you scare them.
Happened to me at Aquaponics Anonymous a couple weeks ago, a couple days ago. That whole shit fest about proving to them how silica works in aquaponics and why people should actually be dosing it rather than just ignoring it outright. So, but we've talked about things like that for what? We've been doing this show for 1.5 years now. And we've been talking about that, so it's just like, you don't hear, you know, this is why it's great. We have so many different people on the show. We get all these different circles and stuff, and we get to learn about different things that maybe aren't talked about. I mean, we've talked about lactobacillus ferments. You know, aside from this show, we really don't hear anyone talking about lactobacillus ferments for aquaponics. You know, not on the home forums or not. You know, so we, you know, really feel like a lot of times we're on the cutting edge of a lot of this stuff because we're incorporating a lot of organic methods that aren't, you know, necessarily traditional or aren't practiced, or maybe you haven't been tested, you know, the same way, but we're getting ridiculously good results, and we've been, you know, running on different scale size stuff, and it's time that we stop ignoring some of this stuff.
Yeah, I definitely think that having results, you know, to post to the Probiotic Farmers Alliance, you know, was definitely sort of a game changer for them too. Like, you know, they can't just ignore, you know, quality plants. So I think that it's definitely the tone has changed in that group over the time, not just about aquaponics, but just in their ability to listen to new ideas and allow people to at least test them out, or if you're going to bash somebody, or because there's definitely some bashing that happens, but their moderators are usually good about, if you're just bashing people, you're probably just going to get booted. If you're bashing people and providing some information behind why you think what they're doing is not a good idea, then debate will continue, even though people can get elitist about it. So there is that, you know, I feel like that's sort of the level that they're on, is that, you know, they're at least willing to listen to ideas. The Korean Natural Farming Group, which I'm no longer a member of, is not nearly as willing to discuss different ways of doing things. So if you're going to check out the Korean Natural Farming Group, you know, just know that, you know, maybe you're going there to find out the way that they do it and listen and ask questions. And if you ask questions, you know, make sure it's not about can you do it differently, because apparently that's really not something they enjoy. And a number of people have been kicked from there for that exact same reason. So just That's my
Keep your mouth
caveat
shut.
to the Korean Natural Farming Group.
Just learn there, use it for reference, and keep your mouth shut so you can continue to have that reference.
Yeah, unless you're open to getting kicked. Like some people, like myself, aren't so great about closing their mouth in certain situations. So
I know I'm not.
it happens. But I can say at the Probiotic Farmers Alliance that you can, like I say, question things. And if you really are just trying to figure out a different way to do something, you will find help, even though I'm sure you'll find a hater or two. You will be able to get some ideas. And a lot of times the people that allow you to at least have that kind of conversation or debate, you can find some answers out of it. So I definitely enjoy the Probiotic Farmers Alliance for that, and take a lot of the stuff that I see there with a grain of salt, especially if it's been posted recently, because just like any group that has 20,000 members, you're going to run into some people that are posting information that's not going to be so great. But they have, I want to say, like 16 moderators at this point, so they are pretty good about weeding out most of that stuff pretty quickly. So the file section is excellent because there's no user comments. So go to the file section in the Probiotic Farmers Alliance and you'll find a lot of stuff, a lot of very useful information about the stuff that we talk about, like step-by-step how to make labs and PDFs. There's links to, like, we've talked about Dr. Elaine Ingerman, Life in the Soil webinars. So there's links to all those, which is probably one of the best, like, introductory videos and series dedicated towards, like, just understanding like natural or probiotic farming, or organic or whatever, but talk about the soil food web and how it works together with microbes and fungus and all the things at different levels, and sort of really breaks it down in a great presentation. So you can find that in the file section, or you can just find it on YouTube. And I even see her class advertised on Facebook every once in a while. And I highly recommend it. I think it's a great place, especially if you got some experience growing, like maybe with hydronutrients or something like that, and you want to start, like, really understanding the difference between what you do now by pulling stuff in that's already been pre-made versus what you would be doing by making your own stuff, or feeding your soil, as we talk about it, or as they talk about it a lot. Feeding your soil, or what we do in aquaponics is we feed our fish and feed our ecosystem, right? We have nitrifying bacteria that we have in our system that has to stay healthy to keep our fish alive. So we're not just feeding fish. When we put fish food in, we're also feeding that whole ecosystem so that the nitrifying bacteria stay there and the fish stay alive and the plants get fed and everything kind of stays in balance. So if you want some of the more technical information about how all that happens, she has a great presentation about the exchange between microbes and fungus and plants, and how, like, nutrients become available versus not available. Steve touched on it a little bit earlier, in breaking down the walls so that they can get to the valuable parts of it. But definitely check out that series as well if you're looking for stuff to kind of cut your teeth on.
Yep. And speaking of, like, ideas, actually, did you guys see that post on Reddit and there's a couple other places on Facebook today on the Infinity? It's like a $1,000 grow box. It's got a 15-gallon aquarium attached to it.
I haven't seen it, no.
Okay. I talked to the guy. He's going to come on the show next week, so I had a chance to talk to him. I was skeptical on it. I kind of made it my opinion known that I was skeptical on it, but I invited him on the show because, shit, I told him, if you got yields and stuff, post it, and, I'll stop being skeptical, but I don't, I have my doubts for a couple of reasons, but I'm kind of curious. It'd be kind of cool to have him on the show and have him talk to us about his little grow box. So.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, I have my doubts as well. That sounds a little exaggerated, but
well, it's got a 15. My thing is, it's got a 15-gallon aquarium on it, and a 15-gallon aquarium just isn't, in my opinion, large enough to generate enough fish waste to power a cannabis plant. They just feed too heavy.
Yeah, I'd be skeptical. I mean, I definitely think that you could, like, you might feed one. And you'd have to feed,
I was gonna
like,
say
3
maybe
times
one
a day.
plant.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm skeptical, but I would, obviously take a look at it.
Yep. So I told him if he wants to send us one, I'll do a YouTube series. So.
Yeah, you should tell him that if he wants that, he should send you one, and you will do a YouTube series.
Yeah. Well.
I don't know. I want to mess around with a 15-gallon system.
I would do it just to see if it, shit. We'll see if he's full. I don't personally think it would work. Is my personal opinion, but shit, I might be wrong. It's got a 2 little doser on it. It's got a cell phone app, and it automatically doses itself. I guess he's got his own little nutrient solution he's got going for supplementing. So, I'm kind of curious.
What's in his solution? Do you know?
I haven't really I just contacted him today. I didn't get a chance to really get into it with him, but I was just kind of curious. I mean, you could take a guess. It's probably similar to what we're using, but
yeah, I guess I was just curious what.
There's only so many combinations of nutrients you can do and still be fish safe,
That's
well,
right.
and also water soluble as well.
Exactly.
I assume if he's using a doser, he's not using dry amendments of any kind. So.
Yeah. It looks like it's a 2-part.
It's got to be like a kelp and some sort
It's got
of.
to be like a CalMag and then like a potassium, like a monopotassium, potassium silicate or something like that.
Yeah.
Monopotassium phosphate. Could that apply? What do y'all think about monopotassium phosphate in regards to aquaponics?
It's fine for aquaponics. Just don't go crazy.
Never apply any more than 25% of the recommended amount that would be usable, right? At one time.
By that, I just mean like if you're trying to go 0 to target. So say for instance, calcium, for example. Calcium, generally for cannabis, between like 60 and 120 parts per million, depending on the strain. Some of them like the water a little harder. At least in aquaponics, for example. You're looking at in order to maintain that, the plant's going to need calcium silicate or not so calcium. I wish there was a calcium silicate. That'd be fucking great. Calcium carbonate or dolomite, calcium magnesium carbonate. The problem with dolomite is you need to use a powdered form if you want it to be quickly available.
You can sprinkle some of that in, right?
Yeah, but when you're doing it in a little automated dosing system, you got to be more exact than that.
Oh yeah, but I was asking more.
Especially on something 15 gallons, man. You got so little room to screw up. You overshoot that. You just nuke that plant. Like I don't know. It just the tiny water volume scares me. Not scares me, but it makes it infinitely more complicated, in my opinion. But like I said, we'll have him on the show. He said he's got results. He's gotten up to 4 ounces on a single plant in this little grow box. So, shoot. And he's got his own little LED light he's designed to go in it and little ventilation and stuff. It's a cool unit. It's a little high in price, but if you're just looking for something totally automated and put your brain on the shelf, it's a pretty cool unit.
Turnkey, right? Turnkey.
Yeah, something turnkey. I just thought it was neat, so I invited him on the show.
I want to say shout out to Matt real quick. Matt, to help you keep up with what all these guys are talking about aquaponics and all, it's all about the first rule of aquaponics is keep the fish alive, right? So anything you do with nutrients or anything you would add into your system would, you would not want to kill the fish. So it'll help you enjoy the conversation a little more. That's why we talk about the low amount. And I'm a hydro guy or soil. I do everything, but except aquaponics, which is funny that I'm welcome on the show. But it's about all cannabis growing and spreading the word and helping out. And so I've been welcome and I'm happy. But I just wanted to bring you back in to let you know that's what when they're talking about all this and doing the ferments, where Marty's talking about doing the ferments where they take fruit and they ferment it, then they add that to their top level, which is like a soilless level, with microbes and stuff in it that never gets into the bottom reservoir where that is.
So what's your media?
Well, there you go, guys. Give it back to you.
So we do a flood and drain tables, and then we use pots where the bottom half is your normal hydrogen flood and drain media, and then we use a layer of burlap and then a layer of soil on top. Some of us use a couple different variations of that. I think Marty sometimes does sips, which is more like a wicking bed, or what does Scotty call it? He calls it
I think he called it I think he called it a SIP, sub-irrigated planter.
yeah, not Marty. Scotty's got a different name for it. It's like fucking hempy bucket. I think they call it on the
bucket, okay.
GGC.
Oh, happy bucket.
Okay.
Same thing.
Well, that's
Okay.
not.
Well,
a
Hempy
big-
bucket's the same as sips, which is the same as a wicking bed. It's all the same thing.
A happy bucket's no different than a Beto bucket.
Yeah.
So what they're
Well,
talking about is in the
well,
dual
different.
root zone.
Get
So
a
that's
Dutch
kind of
Beto
what he
bucket.
was saying was the bottom layer, we keep that so that the soil stays up out of where the water level comes in our flood and drain. So
Yep.
if our flood and drain comes up to here, then we want to make sure our soil level has about two inches of dry space, and then our soil level starts up here. So that way our water level comes up and down, but never touches the soil.
Never drags
so-
the debris in from the soil.
Yep.
Right.
And then this way you can run different nutrient solutions in the soil layer. You can run different microbes in the soil layer than you would in the aquaponic system or in the aquatic layer where you have the fish and the fish waste, and you get more biodiversity in the root system that way.
And
Okay.
then you supplement the top layer, which is
Yep.
a medium, with your ferments and stuff without ever allowing it, never adding enough that it would drip into the lower layer.
Yep. Or if it does, it's just a couple drips and it won't hurt the fish at all because it's so diluted.
So don't kill the fish.
Yep.
And but the roots can still uptake it there at the root ball. So
Yep.
you
And then the
also-
fish. This way, the fish provide about 70 to 75% of the nutrients, and then you're only providing, 20 to 30% of the nutrients in that soil layer. But basically, the soil actually they're kind of like a sponge to hold those supplemental nutrients and allow that, and the microbes that would live in a terrestrial environment, mycorrhizae really don't like to live in a fully aquatic environment, for example, so they'll do much better in that layer, and you'll have different nutrients breaking down. You'll have different microbes breaking down phosphorus in the top layer than you will on the bottom, and vice versa. Nitrogen would be kind of similar, but some of your other, calcium and magnesium and phosphorus, they radically vary between the aquatic and terrestrial microbes.
I'm trying to figure it out for my just like hobby food thing. I have I have 8 chickens that are just like my wife and kid and I take care of these chickens, and we eat their eggs and we feed their eggs to our dogs and stuff. But I've been doing they call it a deep, what is
Deep
it?
water
A deep
culture?
litter. No, a deep litter for their pound the shit for like a whole year, and then you harvest like 6-inch of earth basically, and it's all this like chicken poo. But then I compost that, and this is only my second year of it, so I'm hoping like next year I'm gonna build some soil to grow some food with, I don't know about growing weed because it'll be like high and
Real
low and
hot.
different things, but yeah, it'll be hot shit. But as far as like
Great for
growing tomatoes and stuff like that.
Well,
Yeah,
composted chicken
anything
manure,
Anything leaf heavy, so spinach, lettuce, kale,
Okay.
broccoli, that
Okay.
kind of stuff. Fruiting stuff, you're still going to want to supplement with some potassium.
Right.
Potassium
Okay.
citrate, or
Right.
to increase when you're composting, especially chicken waste, using something like recharge actually will help rapidly increase that breakdown time.
the bottom
Okay,
line about it is you have to make sure it's fully composted, then it won't be too hot, even for cannabis.
Yeah,
But, it's not necessarily the best compost or the manure to use
Well,
for cannabis.
The
But-
issue with chicken waste is it's like a 410,
Yeah,
something like
so
that.
high in nitrogen. So yeah, it would be great for just leafy plants like lettuce and maybe herbs and stuff like that.
But I figured it's something that I make here that I, instead of wasting it, I should use it for something cool, and so I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, that's
Something I
great.
was just
I think-
messing around with.
The only reason that that Steve's mentioning that is because in aquaponics we get primarily nitrogen from the fish.
Okay.
So that's why he was mentioning that, not necessarily that it would be too hot for cannabis in general, but would be too hot for, specifically for cannabis or really anything in aquaponics. And in probably in some situations, if you use just that, would be too hot for cannabis as well. So you use a lot of people mixing that kind of compost in with like a potting soil mix or something like that. So it's not quite as high in nitrogen at first. Or you can put in bigger plants. Like if you have a way, just like you can transplant, like you get teens or whatever from your grower now, you can get, tomato starts from somewhere that are this tall as well and throw those in. And then you won't have to worry about burning smaller plants as much, even if it is really hot with chicken shit.
And I have it composting with like all of my, so everything that comes out of my grow, just like my smart pots, my 5 gallons of soil, after I use it, I take it outside and dump it on like the back of my property. I've got like a pile of it or whatever. And that's where I've got it mixed in with that and whatnot. So from there, I take it to grow food with. Hopefully next year it'll be ready. I don't know. I'm gonna have somebody around here take a look at it and make sure it's worthy of growing food out of or whatever. But I just thought it'd be something cool that it all comes from right here. You know what I mean? So I just thought it was kind of cool.
Are you adding fresh green and dried like carbon material? So you need good composting where you got dried grass and then fresh grass and throw it on the same pile, stuff like that.
So yeah, I'll throw like clippings of vegetation on there, like stuff that I will like tear out of my yard or whatever, just goes on there. And that has like nothing. I don't put anything. I literally live like at the top of a canyon, so I don't have the grass that grows at my place is just like wild grass. It's not like I put a bunch of stuff on it or anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's good stuff to throw on there, as far as I've been told. But yeah, I'm interested to see what it's like come next year, just because my oldest set of chickens are like a year and a half old right now. So about 3 weeks ago, we did our first like big dig on the deep litter. And so it's all like very brand new to me. I went to David Montgomery, that the dude Gross had at New Belgium. I went to his talk and learned a little bit. But I'm slowly just picking it up as I go. I'm not even researching it at this time. You know what I mean? It's literally rid of the chicken shit basically, and how can I to my advantage, so was kind of how it came about. But
Awesome.
Oh, the first podcast, the Steve and Dad podcast.
For mine? No, the first podcast was me and Marty. Marty was starting to do YouTube content. I was starting to do YouTube content, and I was like, Marty and I were talking just on like trading notes and stuff, and we were like, hey, we should just do a podcast, because him and I are both getting a lot of criticism because people were like, oh, aquaponics doesn't work. And we're like, are you stupid? Like, of course it works. Like, we need to get more people like together and be like, hey, no, like this works all the time. Like, yeah, like, so, and then we started the show, and then now we have, my channel alone, I'm averaging 18,000 views per month. So,
wow.
And between the SoundCloud and this and Marty's channel and everywhere it's posted on the RSS feed, we're averaging, around I think around 16 to 20,000 views for the podcast between all different medias. Now, some of them are the same person watching 2 or 3 times or different devices or whatever.
Right,
but still,
right.
For considering we've been doing this for a year and a half on kind of an obscure, there aren't too many aquaponic cannabis growers. There sure as hell wasn't when we started it. So for us to grow it to the point where it is now is pretty awesome,
That's
We've had some
cool.
incredible guests like yourself, and we've had, all different kinds of cool guests from across the industry, and it's been really awesome so far.
Cool.
Yeah,
Now that I know more about it, I've already pulled up the channel and stuff. I'm looking forward to going back through and checking out some of the old episodes and whatnot. So
we'll start with number 1, because if you want to learn about the dual root
Right.
zone in the first 15, see, this is for real. For once, you go and see this, and in the first 15 minutes, they are talking about exactly what we just talked about, the dual root zone. So you will learn exactly right from the very start. They did the real thing instead of bullshitting, and then all of a sudden they talk about it. They went right into it. The first 15 minutes, you're right into the heart of their explanation of how to set up a dual root zone. And I can already tell, yeah, you think Matt's gonna do an aquaponic setup, guys?
Maybe not tomorrow, but you've sparked some interest for sure. So,
and if you're listening, you're looking for a how-to, I have a really good how-to video. It's just a short 3 or 4 minute how-to video on how to set up the roots, where I have the stages already pre-set up, and just, bam, 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 and you can kind of see how it's set up and how to set your water level and everything else. So I know Marty's got some good content on that as well.
Yeah, and you can start it out real small scale with just a with very low investment on fish, which I'm learning. I'm going through that hydroponic farm, converting to going, but I also live in a place that's 100 degrees outside right now. So, that'd be a bitch to try to do it. And I'm going to try to have an outdoor aquaponic system, but yeah, it's really neat. And you get to eat the fish if you want to,
right. I'm cool with that.
Or the crawfish, you're in Colorado, so you don't get much crawfish out there. So
I live on a big lake, and we have crawfish on the lake that I live on.
But it's got its own issues that I'm learning. See, I'm the newbie in the group, so to speak, and I'm sharing what I've learned to kind of between these experts and what I know about just being a general, grower. I'm a commercial grower. And all with a hydroponic greenhouse, but and I grow soil and soilless because I teach, and I love growing marijuana.com. But see, these guys see what's cool about this, that and this is you're the perfect guy to talk about this again once real quickly. That this show is not, even though it's aquaponics show, basically it started as aquaponics. There's so much that the average learner, whether you're doing hydroponics or soil or soilless, from the extra diligence that these growers and aquaponics put into their grows by knowing. Well, all right, here's one for you. For instance, to put in their grows is phenomenal compared to what every other average grower puts in. The effort and the knowledge that you have to gain to really achieve the kind of success that these fellows have achieved is not just throwing some fish in there and throwing some plants and some flow tray. You have to supplement it. The dual root zone makes a whole big deal. But what's so cool is that you learn, and they measure every individual element. Are you laughing at me because I'm so excited about this, Steve? I mean, yeah, I don't know why you're smiling. I mean, you better watch where you put your camera.
No, I was smiling because Fish Ganja guy sent me a picture of myself compared to what's his name, Davy Jones, or the dude from the tentacle head dude from Fire
to the Caribbean.
And like my pose I had when he screenshotted the camera was like exactly the same as the dude. I was dying.
Yeah. I think he died.
I don't know about it.
No, the actor. No, I'm just messing with you. The actor. I was messing with the actor. I think.
Marty, for those of you guys that aren't aware, check out Marty's channel, AP Meds at YouTube, and he has a Patreon as well. If you're looking for some premium content, he's got a lot of cool shit up on there.
Good night, Marty.
Marty had to run. He got children aggro, so some of us are likely to still be kidless.
So anyway, so it was I just had to say that because that means you just had this damn. You were just laughing or smiling your ass off. I could just see you in the damn picture. But so Matt, the thing is that what got me intrigued in this is my friend who's not here tonight, who's regular part of the panel, is Aquaponic Dummy, and he's a part of our forum too. He's a moderator there. And Brain Grow helps out now doing aquaponics and stuff over there. But the thing is that they measure every mineral basically, or they have the experts in aquaponics have a meter that measures the nitrogen. They can individually, and it's kind of neat. Most people don't even realize that's out there. They only know about EC and TDS meters, and PM meters, pH meters. You see what he's doing? You laughing, Steve? Yeah, Steve's hijacking my talk here, but that's okay. It's good. See, like I said, we're getting to the goofy part now. Marty left, so we're loosening up now. Okay.
Yeah, the adult left the room.
So, but anyway, it was really that's what got me is the fact that there's such diligence put into not killing the fish, because like they said earlier about not using the chicken is because it's 410 is because the fish do all the nitrogen. So all you have to supplement is the other, nitrogen, iron, and it's not just nitrogen, but as far as nitrogen goes, you really don't need to add more nitrogen. You just need to to balance it out with the rest of the NPK ratio and the other 13 or 14 minerals. Oh yes, well I'm going to stop talking because that was a good.
No, you are good.
Boring Matt to death.
No, you're not.
Well, let me let that. What Brain Grow? Steve, save me here, man. Save me.
All of a sudden, I just realized that it's 10:15. How did this happen?
Well, here where I live, it's 12:15.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So, do you go to bed early?
Well, this time of year, yeah, because I'm usually up, get my family out the door, and then on a job site I try to be at work by 8:30 at the very latest. But tomorrow I'm in studio all day. I've got my tech officer comes up on Fridays, my sales guy comes up on Friday, and we which is like Mike that you met at the DGC Cup. He does all my local sales, and then Greg, who you met there, he does all the web and handles all that. And so those guys come up early on Fridays and Mondays, and we kind of hash out what everybody's going to work on for the week, and then we split off and do our own things and then meet back up. But so today I was up at like 5 o'clock in the morning because it was on one of my days I go and work. But that's why, that's the yawn, not your talk. It's
No, I was just kidding, man.
the long days.
Appreciate you hanging out, and I got your email. I'll send it over to Roger and everyone else that's
Cool.
got an establishment that we can get you connected with. And I very much appreciate you attributing to the show and staying with us the whole episode and stuff. I really appreciate it.
Cool, man. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And if you guys ever make it out to Colorado, please make sure to hit me up. We could do this in studio. You guys could hang out here and hit all the.
I'm in Colorado a couple times every year. I'm in Colorado at least 4 or 5 times every year, so I'll be by.
All right, cool, man. Well, thanks again. You guys have a great one.
Hey, Matt, awesome. Thank you for such a great tour. Your shop and all. You were fantastic.
Yeah, that was so great. Thanks again.
Yeah, you guys have a good one. Take her easy.
Cheers.
Night,
Thank you.
So,
awesome. And remember, guys, mtnsideglass.com if you want to buy some of his glass and check him out. Brain Grow, what you got going on?
Well, today in the grow, I was doing a lot of trimming on my mothers, and I actually finally got my green alien mother moved over into the breeding box. So I'm going to cross that with a male, probably from my buddy's plant. He has a strain called Night Nurse. So we're going to cross those and see what becomes of that until I can really set up the early Durban and CBD breeding project. I'm probably going to do some early Durban cross with early Durban just to get some more seeds of that. Um, let's see. Other than that, I ordered a new strain of some spores for my mycology project. It's going to be a another psilocybin cubensis strain. This one is called Jamaican. So it was pretty cool, pretty nice looking strain. Got some purple in the caps and whatnot, which, I mean, if you know anything about the psilocybin cubensis mushrooms, you know that whenever you handle them at all, they start to bruise up purple anyway. But on the caps, as they were growing, I mean, just from the pictures, you know, they had purple to them, you know, so it looked pretty nice. So hopefully I can get that up and going pretty soon.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Finally made it out to the hardware store again, so I got a elbow for the bottom of my first flush rain diverter. So I'll finally be able to get to finishing that thing up. I'm looking forward to that. Moving some stuff around in the veg and whatnot. I'm fixing to get around to cutting down that male, which is the original plant of the early Durban that I have, and probably get to making a just a topical pain medication out of that. I need to go to the store and get some alcohol so I can do that. But other than that, just the normal stuff, you know, just keeping up with everything in the grow.
Awesome.
I love the information on the mushrooms, man. Yeah, I have to talk to you about that a little bit.
Well, yeah, for me, I mean, so far it's been a tough nut to crack. I actually made a super careless mistake last time I inoculated my jars, which was a couple weeks ago. Up to this point, I had no growth. So I went ahead and emptied out them jars, and I'm probably going to start another batch tomorrow. But one thing that you're supposed to do whenever you have your spore syringe to inoculate your jars is you're supposed to shake it up, because whenever you have your spore syringe just sitting there, they tend to clump up. So if you don't shake them up, then you may or may not inoculate those jars. So I didn't have any growth whatsoever this time. So
Why
I
don't
was
you
like,
use
what the
rice
hell?
cakes?
Use what now?
Why don't you use rice cakes? Like my friends in England,
Um,
they shoot their syringe onto ice, like rice cakes, and they grow the shit out of mushrooms.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be willing to try that. You know, I'd have to learn about that method
Well,
first,
yeah,
I
but see,
suppose. But
like, well, I'm not a big, like I'm not an expert on it, but I hung, when I was running the grow, when Zandor had the grow report, and you want to know where to find it? See if you can find either the Dope Fiend. Well, Steve, is it okay if I bring up a podcast network? I'm not even sure what's going on with it. It could be dead, but all right, the dopefiend.co.uk network, we were the official forum for it. So we did the cultivation side and they did the podcast side. And then we all interacted throughout, and it was fantastic. And most of that was all pre-recorded podcasts. They did their show and then they just posted it, right? It wasn't live. Like, this is more of a webcast, really, not a podcast, in my opinion, in my humble opinion.
We're too good for your podcast standards.
Yeah, and I'm not humble very often. No, I'm very humble, but it is, things are how they are. You just have to live life as you see to live life. So, but anyway, dopefiend.co.uk. Dope Fiend still has a podcast for sure, because I checked it out. But he used to have a network where he had 15 to 20 or 30 podcasts, and they had all kinds of people that did shrooms and stuff. And there's a website that you might find if it's still up, would be dopetribe.org. And if that's still up, and I haven't checked, I can tell you right now, if dopetribe.org is up, that's based out of the UK, and they are nuts over mushrooms. And you can learn all about they all do. They take and inoculate a rice cake, and they do the thing, and they propagate it in the dark, perfect, humid condition, whatever the conditions are. And it seems to be the way to do it, for the guys that I know that are expert at doing it. So, so just maybe that'll help you out and give you a little more success.
Right. I mean, I've already tried it a couple different ways. I've tried cocoa core with brown rice flour, and that got as far as maybe 10 to 15% colonized, and then it would just stop growing, and the whole substrate would become contaminated. And this time, like I said, I feel like that's probably what had the biggest to do with my failure this time. And I mean, I'm definitely no expert when it comes to this. You know, I'm trying to learn the process, and so I can have a really consistent method for me to use. You know, so I'm still trying to figure that out right now. I'm on the vermiculite. I'm going to try that one more time, and then I haven't been able to really find any good mason jars locally, and I really need to stock up on those a little bit so I can start doing this every other week or so. And what's that?
Another point that these guys that just hit me while you were talking about this, these guys they buy it. Like sometimes you can actually, well, again, this is in the UK, so I don't know. This probably is not, well, I don't know. It's probably in Canada, so you probably could get it. But the thing is, they actually, you can buy a rice cake that's already inoculated. You know.
Well, the other, yeah, well, I don't think you can sell live mycelium in the U.S. I think it's only the spores that are illegal.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
so
I've seen people selling a sterilized substrate, and all you have to do is inoculate it. But as far as I think you actually can get something that is pre-inoculated, doesn't have anything growing on it. They'll probably inoculate it and then send it right away, and then you can grow it out yourself. I've seen it on this one channel that I follow, and for a lot of my information, and that was pretty interesting. I can't remember what the numbers were that he pulled down from that, but he harvested quite a bit of mushrooms from that. So that was pretty interesting, and I think that was a
If you're looking for more
horse manure
information,
based.
if you're looking for more information on this kind of stuff, definitely check out shroomery.org. I know when I was looking to get started with oyster mushroom cultivation, that was a huge resource for me. For those of you guys that don't know, I actually did a lot of work with as a guy. He just closed his farm down and he's relocating right now, but there was a large commercial farm in Colorado called Turtle Island Farms, and they did these big aquaponic mushroom grows where you had the oyster mushrooms above the fish tanks and these like sealed chambers that he then vented out into the grow rooms to boost his plant production of peppers and tomatoes to increase the CO2 levels. So.
Guys, I
Yeah.
gotta wrap it up here pretty soon because the wife, strange wife came home tonight and I've got to deal with some homegrown issues over here.
He's got Wi-Fi, ex-Wi-Fi girl.
It's 12:30.
Did you have anything else going on, Ringo? If not, I'll wrap up with what I'm doing and then I'll get out of here.
That's pretty much it. I mean, did we have anything else from the chat?
We didn't have much else from the chat. We had a couple of goofy questions, nothing that was really worth asking.
Cool.
I've been working on this new big project that I'll be able to share here in hopefully the next 30 days. I don't have an exact timeline, but I'm going to have a bunch of cool shit to show you guys and tell you guys once I'm allowed to talk. I'm about to head back to the Bay Area tomorrow. I'll be teaching at the Ouroboros this weekend if anyone's going to hang out. We will be teaching the class Saturday and Sunday. We have a little, after hours on Saturday. If you are looking to try some nice cannabis wares, there may or may not be some afterwards. Off location at a private location where a private residence where we can do such things. And yeah, so if you're looking to come out and learn and have a nice experience for the whole weekend, you can do a lot worse than coming out to Ouroboros Farms this weekend. So, and what else? Yeah, just working on a new project in the general Bay Area, and I think that's all I could say right now. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, Marty and I are gonna try and line up the next online class for August. So that'll be great. I believe. Hold on, I think I can pull up the dates right now. I got the date for that class, so that'll be an online class as well, and that'll be on. Of course, does it want to? Goddamn Windows 10. I hate Windows 10 so much. It needs to die. I think it's August 19th and 20th, if memory serves me correctly. So.
Check us out Monday on Last Week in Cannabis, and we'll give you the definition.
Yeah, and be sure you guys check out Last Week in Cannabis. I think we're gonna do that for like 3 months, and we'll see how the viewership is. We get fewer viewers on that show, and we spend a lot more time putting that show together. So I don't know if after 3 to 6 months we don't get more viewers, I might end up just folding that show. But a really big appreciation to Brain Grow and Roger for showing up for both shows most of the time and really stepping up ever since they started with us. So it's really appreciative to have some other people to help hold down the fort when Marty or Fish Ganja Guy or some of the other people aren't able to be here, and they've really been big members of the community and really stepped up. And big thank you to both Brain Grow and Roger.
Thank you.
My pleasure, brother.
Just sharing the wealth.
Thanks. And let's see. In April 18th through 20th, if you guys want to go hang out with me in Jamaica, I was working on a big cannabis talk down there. I'll be talking with. I'm going to be one of the speakers. So if you guys want to go down, I'm going to work on setting up some private tours of some of the homies I got down there. So if you guys want to go see some stuff you're never going to get a chance to see that I can't necessarily tell you what you're going to see, but you're going to go see a lot of pot plants. I'll tell you that much. We're going to go see some fields of Jamaican. We're going to try and work that into the trip too. So that's just some of the stuff we got in the works. We're working on trying to get I'm trying to find a place somewhere in the Bay Area we can have a kind of a cool maybe end of the year, maybe October or November, try to work on getting everyone together in the community for an in-person once a year meetup or something. And they could be kind of cool either in Colorado or in California, so that's in the works. And what else can I talk about? There's a lot of stuff I can't tell you guys about yet that will be coming soon that you guys will think are super cool. And we just got a couple cool guests. I've been working on trying to book some more guests for the show. I've been spending an hour or two every week on that, trying to get us some cool new guests. I got 3 or 4 people in queue now that you guys will like, and I feel like the quality of our guests we've been very spoiled. The last 20 or 30 guests we've had have been just super killer, and this is episode 50. I didn't know if we'd ever make it to an episode 50. The fact that we can do 50 episodes just on Aquaponic Cannabis content is pretty awesome, considering it was a niche thing that people doubted us in the beginning, like we were talking about earlier. So I'm just appreciative and happy we could get to this point. And thanks to everyone for your continued support. And, please check out and support all the channels. I got everyone that's on the show. I try to put their YouTube channel in the thing here in the description. I need to go back and add a couple of the episodes that people were in that I didn't have it in there. But if you're looking to support anyone or check out more content from anyone on the show, almost everyone on the show that's a panel member has their own YouTube channel and puts out a ton of content out there. So be sure to support them and subscribe.
Cool.
And remember, all complaints go to apmeds@gmail.com. If you're offended by anything on the show, be sure to write in. So apmeds.com. apmeds@gmail. Don't forget.
And we'll answer your question online.
Yeah, and if you have a question, we love answering people's grow questions. You can definitely write me at ponics@gmail.com with your non-complaint questions, and they'll be answered.
And you can email latewood@latewood.com also. Yeah. Uh-oh, lost your vocals.
Okay, so Micah has been on the show before. He's going to talk a little bit about a little recent event thing, real quick. The right hand man in the grow.
Hi, Mom.
What's up, dude?
How's it going?
All right, man. Good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Excellent news today. Well, it happened last Friday, but San Diego's notorious bitch of a district attorney who somehow had a giant boner for cannabis patients, finally stepped down and rescinded her resigned. Is under a lot of pressure because there's, I don't know. I have a feeling their accounting is about to come out, and they finally tallied up how much money she wasted getting no convictions on medical cannabis arrests and raids. Big part of that is due to Americans for Safe Access. They're my favorite. They're my favorite advocacy group for patients' rights. I hear a lot of people lately been saying that NORML is responsible for every weed conviction that's happened since NORML was created. That's what somebody tried to say.
Well, they started it, but they're not responsible for everything now.
I didn't think so. I thought that was a sweeping statement. But I can go ahead and say that in my case and everybody that I know in San Diego, Americans for Safe Access and the support that they offer, the experts that they put forth to they stick true to their goal, and their goal is safe access to cannabis medication for everyone. We shouldn't have to go stand on a corner or go to a dark alley and get weed the way we used to get weed. And they ask a lot if you are arrested in terms of do not take a plea deal, don't back down, and don't waive your right to a speedy trial, and do retain your right to remain silent. But their whole credo is to not take a plea deal, and that's very hard for a lot of people. But they offer the support to make it to make me feel comfortable enough to go to trial and not take a plea deal, despite facing 12 to 17 years for nothing. But that DA is gone, and the new person campaigning for DA that we want in office is. I'll update you guys with that on this last week in Cannabis. We'll do a more in-depth story on who stepped out and who we are very much hoping steps in. Steve, you're spilling the hash all on your keyboard.
Stop that, Steve. Hey, Micah, I wanted to say something.
All right.
Are you still there? Okay, because Steve's hijacking your video. What you said. No. Without, all right, now you said Americans for due what would you call American, call your, all right, because, all right, that threw me off, the hash process.
It's called ASA. It's Americans for Safe Access.
Okay, there would be, all right, so to go back to where you opened up, without normal.org, NORML.org,
right.
There would
National
be no
reform of marijuana
there
laws.
would be no that group wouldn't be here, and see. But the thing is that it's a whole different thing. NORML is for the legalization of marijuana, and also they do also say the same thing, and they are strict about it. You don't take any deals. They will send you to lawyers. They'll do it. So both organizations do that. And see, what's great about it is now there's two organizations, not just one that's been basically just fighting all along. But let's just never dispel what normal.org has done for us.
Oh yeah, that was completely in jest. Somebody, I forget who it was. Somebody twice this last week was really trying to convince me that NORML is behind every marijuana prosecution and was behind the persecution of it, because without it they wouldn't have a job. And I thought that doesn't make any sense, because they advocate for, that's what they do. It's the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. They're lobbyists. They put pressure to try and make it less illegal and more legal and available. Americans for Safe Access is just, they're pretty much the same thing, although Americans for Safe Access focuses solely on medicinal cannabis. So it's they fight for the rights of dispensaries, cannabis workers that provide to dispensaries. As long as you're on the up and up and you're not flipping pounds in the street. Like it was fortunate for me in my case that Terry Best was a very good friend of mine. She was NORML and ASA's Cannabis Activist of the Year for the year 2016, and she sat right where had my parents been able to come out to San Diego for my trial. She's sitting right where my mom would have sat if if my family would have been able to make it out. And every day she was, doing courtroom sketches and writing articles about how the case, how the court case was going and the day-to-day happenings of the trial, and really just kind of helped to keep me positive. And I was about to lose my mind every day. I had no idea. I'm like, what did I get myself into? At the end of this thing, like, I could still go to jail for a long time, but ultimately I spent a year just really studying my case, and I knew that when the opportunity was given for me to present my side of the case, which the prosecution goes first, it was a long 3 days of them talking a bunch of nonsense and us, politely proving them wrong. When it came time for us to present our side of the case, things got a little more aggressive, and I was able to. I knew that I had done the homework, so I was like, I don't have to call this cop a liar. I can just point out the discrepancies in his own report, his own testimony, and the saddest part to me was, despite being acquitted, the lead detective, Detective Ray Morales, he resigned after the case under a lot of pressure because he was found to be full of shit. But he'll never be charged with perjury or any of the other things that we love to say we have as safeguards and checks and balances against the authority figures. But that was the saddest part to me, is the judge, despite seeing how insane the paperwork was and the testimony, and that nothing matched, nobody ever said, like, you're out, go to jail, you're a liar. And I think we need more. I think the next DA needs to do more prosecutions of crooked cops. If you're going to go up on the stand and lie, or you're going to fill out a police report and alter it and tailor it to make you look like a better person and try and intimidate someone that's been arrested, you're guilty of perjury. You're guilty of evidence tampering. You're guilty. Those things are all felonies too. He should have been facing as much time and been in the same seat that I was. And that's the one thing that kind of bothers me the most. It'll probably bother me a lot less when the police department either settles out of court or actually wants to go to trial on the civil matter of my rights that they threw out the window when they threw a grenade in the house, not knowing who lived there or what I looked like or anything other than the word of an informant and they didn't even give my name right. They threw a grenade in, rounded everybody up at gunpoint, and said, "Which one of you guys is Mika?" Right then, that was the red flag. I said, they don't even know what I look like. There's no case behind this. What are they doing? And so I just remained silent and, didn't give them anything additional to work with than what they came in the house and they say they found, but I complied with the warrant and showed them where everything was. So there's really no police work. They threw a grenade in my house, and I showed them what my cannabis business was, and they took me to jail and really kind of just strung things out and leaned on me to try and just plead guilty to the drug crime, and we won't mess with the family life, and we'll drop the child endangerment and the child abuse if you plead guilty to the felony cannabis production. I'm like, it was a real eye opener, and a lot of lessons that were hard to learn that honestly a lot of them I wish I hadn't learned. Cops are the robbers. If they don't find what they want, they'll write a story that parallels it, and then they'll lean on you to plead guilty of a crime that you're not guilty of because they couldn't find you guilty of the one that they were told you were guilty of. And the bail system is legal ransom, and aside from that, anything that they take ends up back on the streets. And everything that they took from me that I've got pictures of in their reports, they checked it into the evidence locker with a barcode. When the jury wanted to see these things, they just weren't there. And that, luckily, the only thing that was left in the evidence part of my case when I got out when I finished the whole thing, was my phone, because it's still my phone now. But I was really freaking out without that the day that I got out of jail for 13 months, wondering what they were doing with my phone. But they couldn't unlock it. That's why everybody should get a Droid. iPhone, they figured out how to get into those. Get a Droid, give it a password. The police can't get in your phone. So more on that on Monday. I always tell Steve his podcast is too long, and then he puts me on for like the last 30 minutes, but so I can't really say anything.
I was thinking the same thing. It's such a great story, and to finally have you on, and we've heard about it, and it is a phenomenal story because having been in this industry as an advocate for normal and the legalization of cannabis or medical marijuana for over 12 years, I was blown away because the police always threaten everybody to, all right, if you like you said, if you cooperate and plead guilty to this, we'll leave your life alone. You won't lose your house and everything. But finally, see, here's what I've been saying. I've always said this. Fortunately, I haven't had it happen. But I always said I will go the normal way because I will fight it. You know, I will fight it now. For even predisposition in an illegal state, I would fight it. Because the precedent's out there. So see, that would even be bigger, you know, but the fact that I have a friend now that actually did it, that went there with the ASA and, you know, not normal, but with ASA and won the case because they had the balls to do it, shut up, plead, you know, and just, you know, like you said, you didn't even tell them your name, right? Because if you don't tell them your name, they put you in a jail cell. If you don't have an ID on you, they put you in a jail cell. They don't know who the fuck you are. And eventually somebody figures out where you get communication that you can get out to somewhere. But yeah, but been there, done that kind of thing, you know, but
yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
Hopefully you never have to go through it, but hopefully you never have to go through it, but if you do, have somebody call me right away. And I'll work with anybody's lawyer. I've gotten a number of, I've volunteered just based on the most noble profession really in the country is the public defender's office. They get a lot of shit. They do ultimately at the end of the day, they're checks signed by the same people as the prosecutor, but they've got a job to do and they've got to be diplomatic about it. The trick is to make them care because they're overworked and, you know, just prove to them that you're a person of your word. And I did a lot of the work for my attorney because they don't get interns the way that the DA's office does. And so anything I need an expert witness for you. And I call ASA. I say, I need somebody from SC Lab. I need Andrew Pham. I need him here for my trial. And they made the call. He said he'd do it, you know, pro bono. And I think he should have asked to get paid because the state ended up paying for everything anyway. But it, you know, a lot of good things came out of it. It sucked for a long time, and it's going to make an awesome, shitty mini series on TV one day, or you know, straight to DVD film. You know, in this day and age, like people always say, well, it's not a court of public opinion. It absolutely is a court of public opinion. If you're not guilty of a crime, you need that court of public opinion. You need 12 people to give you back your freedom. The district attorney needs to convince all 12 of them that whatever you did is as serious of a crime as they are charging you. And enough people have been educated on, you know, jury nullification, and that's how these things, that's how they stop prosecuting these, is if they stop getting convictions, they stop making the arrests because it's a huge waste of money and they don't recoup their losses through the bail system / ransom, you know, offices. That's barely covers the time that the corrections officers are working to bring you your lunch. But see, that dab, this rosin's good, but it's not real good. It's not the greatest thing for short-term memory. But if anybody does ever go through with it, I'm certified, at least in the state of California, to testify on medical cannabis raids, any details they might need in regards to the science behind cultivation, the math and bookkeeping of dispensary operation, the entire supply chain if it had to go there. But idealistically, everybody remains nameless as it's been doing. I think everybody's gone. I talked everybody out of here.
No, you got 6 years.
Oh, okay. Well, Monday we're gonna do a bigger, longer piece. We'll get some video footage showing the Americans for Safe Access did a New Orleans style jazz funeral when she left the office. So they had a whole, you know, jazz band playing the traditional Southern funeral songs, and you know, when the Saints go marching in, and you know, had a nice little parade following her out of out of City Hall and out of downtown, out of our lives, out of our problems for a while. But it was like watching if Hitler wouldn't have killed himself, it was like watching him march out of your city, because she was definitely someone to be feared. She had a major ego. She loved to deny the science behind it and just lump it in as like cocaine or meth or other things that involve chemicals and baking soda. I don't know the recipe. I'm just saying, but it's a welcome relief, and we'll get some good footage of that. We'll see if we can get Terry Best on to talk a little bit about it and who the ideal next candidate is for district attorney. I believe the candidate they're backing right now has promised a moratorium on raids of dispensaries that are that have their license or even just their business license from the city. They're not real worried about the red tape behind who's getting what money. If the city issues you a business license and you tell them you're going to sell pot here, they're not going to come raid you. If you are a medical cannabis patient, you got 6 plants in your front yard, but behind a 6-foot fence, they're not going to send in the SWAT team. And financially, that makes a whole lot of sense to me, because $1.2 million spent not putting me in jail. I can only imagine the countless other cases and what the grand total would be as to. I think on a profitable employee scale, Bonnie Dumanis probably was the worst thing to happen budget-wise for San Diego. Just countless millions of wasted dollars, and sending in helicopters and Bearcats for nonviolent people is that's not American. So we'll touch more in depth on all the ins and outs and what have yous of San Diego's future of medical and recreational cannabis, and hopefully Steve and I will be able to discuss some of the big announcements that we've been working hard on but are contractually obligated not to disclose. So
okay, and Monday then.
Yeah, Monday. I'll prepare a segment for Monday. I'll do 10 or 15 minutes of awesome stories that you won't find on Reddit, Steve. Steve just goes on r/trees or cannabis news, and that's about it. And then he makes a spreadsheet.
Well, we all have to pick it up a little bit. One of the problems too with the Monday night is we haven't really been able to get in sync because of the move and everything, and that's one of the things. There's been a lot of stuff, moving parts. Everybody's got their own personal, networks and businesses going on, and it's just been hard.
I'm stuck in his. I know all the problems that he's having. Too.
Yeah, well, I know you know, but the people out there don't know. People that listen to the podcast don't know.
I forget there's 7 other viewers out there. Yeah.
Well, eventually there might be 150 or 250 by the end of the week, though. See, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So tune in Monday for Last Week in Cannabis. Find out more about everything I was just talking about, and funny, crazy, off the wall, batshit crazy stories about the draconian enforcement of marijuana laws in the United States, and hopefully some good news about the lightening of sentences or decriminalization or more states passing medical. Hopefully we'll have plenty of good stuff to report too.
And Jeff Sessions is gone.
Did he resign?
Well, he's
Jeff
gone.
Sessions?
Either way, he's gone. So
yeah,
we'll talk about that Monday, and I gotta go. So let's wrap it up, unless you want me to just drop out. So sorry.
Nope. We'll say peace, and we'll see you on Monday. And I think Sessions is gonna wait it out and make Donald Trump say you're fired, because that's all he is some fucking reality star, spoiled brat anyway. He needs to get out of there. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all on Monday.
How did everybody forget that he was the sleaziest property owner in the 80s? How was that forgotten so quickly? The drugs weren't that good in the 90s. But yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Roger. Good night, 6 viewers. Steve's got a class coming up. Listen and stay tuned if you want to learn awesome shit.
Thanks to everyone for watching. Check out the class over at Ouroboros, and yeah, thanks for watching. This weekend at Ouroboros Farms, ouroborosfarms.com. Starts at 9 a.m. on Saturday and 9 a.m. on Sunday for the Aquaponic Cannabis class. And check out my YouTube channel at Potent Ponics on YouTube and Potent Ponics on SoundCloud if you just want to listen to the audio version. Thanks again for that amazing walkthrough, Matt. And be sure to check out the other channels if you guys are ever question. Always our guests' social media links are always in our description, along with all of our panel members. So thanks to all involved, and take care. Oh, and if you want to check out Micah, check him out at arise1@gmail.com. If you want to write him or ask him, I know he was attention. He offered to help you if you're getting any problems and stuff like that. Yeah, if you're fighting a cannabis case, and definitely shoot him an email and he'll help you out. If not, and he'll recommend you someone who can. Yep. So, alrighty, take care. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.